are so much like a black hole that they suck the energy from every planted seed. Since voting's an illusion, no one protests who commands these things lost in plan black confusion. Such a great fucking hook. Oh man, it's so good. Again, I'm getting fat. You know, big old fat jowls. My diet has changed, unfortunately. So
we can do the impossible. We do it every
last night I told my wife, I think I'm kind of onto something, and it's a weird place. It's, I've stumbled into some information that, it's not like I'm some sort of detective or something like that. I'm not doing something that's impossible or that everybody isn't capable of doing. But I'm noticing. And maybe that's the difference, is just the noticing idea of it all. But I say to my wife, did you know that the Friars have their own ambulance network and basically secret security police force that is the liaison between them and the law, the government? That's why you never see them getting in trouble like they should, or you never see any sort of stories about like believe you, but it's also one of those things that I would have to sort of see for myself for me to really I know, but this is like telling someone that what you've been told to be a fantasy, and here, believe it. She's not just going to believe anything I say. And that, I appreciate that, that keeps me sharp. She's not a yes man who just agrees with it. Feed is already stepping out. Yeah. Are you expecting anything less? And that's sort of what, the end result of that thing with telling my wife was, she was like, are you really shocked? Are you really surprised that this is the way? And I said, no, I'm not surprised. It's more than it all is. And that if you bring it up, it's considered conspiracy theories. Like, that's the part that's so strange to me, is how open and honest they are about what they do. And their main tactic isn't explaining why it should be this way or whatever. It's condemning those that question it, and calling people that question it crazy. That's their biggest weapon, is to call you crazy. But this secure community network is something that everybody should know about. And that's what I plan on doing when I get home, is just going into that rabbit hole. Because that rabbit hole includes so many other things. And most people are have been bred, have been conditioned to believe that they are just, if they see these things, they're just supposed to ignore them. And if it's funny, like, if you see these things in any other situation, you're supposed to take note. You're supposed to report it. You're supposed to, condemn it. But when it's this one group, then you're just supposed to shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Who are you to even talk about it? You're a dumb goyim. Shut your mouth. Go look what Trump did. Look at what Trump's doing. Look what Trump's doing. Paying attention? You see, oh, Trump said something funny. Oh, did you see that? Oh, Trump's gonna get $232 million in a lawsuit for some other bullshit now. You guys see that? And you're like, yeah, that's what I've been paying attention to, because that's what they told me to pay attention to. I've been paying attention to this stuff the whole time, because that's what they keep telling me to pay attention to, so I pay attention to it. They do it on purpose. They want you in disbelief. Well, in disbelief in one way, but then you're supposed to, base your entire reality off of belief, off of faith belief. And so it's a completely fake narrative. You know what I was looking at today? I was reading this article about the 1800s baseball cards, the old Mayo plug base. Because actually, it was because I wanted to know what Mayo plug meant. It's like how it's mayonnaise. Mayo plug actually refers to a type of tobacco that was compressed tightly and chewed. I believe. But I'm looking at these old baseball cards, and I can't help but notice that what are supposed to be pictures look really fake. And the tech we had back then, the camera tech we had back then was decent. And to think obviously they had the technology to be able to print baseball cards and put them in fucking tobacco containers. The connection there just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's really a dumb thing, considering people didn't collect stuff. That wasn't a societal thing back then. So for there to be baseball cards in tobacco products just makes no sense, other than trying to get kids to use tobacco products. But if you look at all those pictures of these players, and I always marvel at the idea of the early baseball player uniforms. These cotton wool, long pants, big baggy uniforms, big pants, long sleeve. These guys were playing baseball in the South in the summer. I don't think we're told an accurate history about temperature. If you look at every single picture you ever fucking see from the pre 1920s or so, 1930s, everybody's always dressed like it's cold outside. And my wife hides behind it's modesty, right? It's modesty. People were modest and covered up everything. And I know that that's the excuse that's given, but that doesn't make sense. Modesty doesn't outweigh health. And when you see all of these people dressed in to the nines, in multiple layered suits and big old dresses with garters on and multiple layers of this, that, and they had their umbrellas and their top hats and their fucking ladies' hats and all that shit. It wouldn't matter how modest people were. You would die if you dressed like that in today's society, especially in the summertime. And I mean, I'm comfortable saying summertime fucking anywhere. Summer here in Michigan is fucking hot and humid. We have a lot of humidity here in Michigan. So to think that people were dressed in a way that would be torturous it would be a torture to be dressed in that way in a 90-degree, 90% humidity kind of situation. And yet, it always looks like it's cold. Even the people at the beach are dressed like it's cold, like it's beyond practicality. The dresses that women would wear while they were swimming. I mean, you're gonna die, especially if you're in some sort of, ocean or lake or whatever that's huge, that has riptides and shit. Riptides would grab a hold of that dress and just pull you right out to your death. Wow, gas has gone up like fucking 40, 50 cents in the last week. Nobody talking about it though.
So many years, so many more songs, yet nothing appears to be coming along. Everything's weird, resistance is strong. Judged by my peers, my sentence is long. As I look to the mirror, should I put down my bomb? Could they not engineer the tweets to be wrong? What truth is revered by the eyes of a pawn as they happily cheer for some kids in a thong? These innocent
Boy's bad.
still waiting to hear the ring from the gong, like Bambi's mom dear. All those who belong to the top of the tier. I now have the Kong, the Lord is right here. The flies are like Pong, the back and forth steers. Teach against Chong, weed versus beer. We'll reach the new dawn, we all wish we could cheer.
Oh,
Once the 1%'s
man.
gone, what's wrong disappears.
I don't know, man. I just think, being who I am and being what doing what I do, it's almost impossible for me to believe any of it anymore, and it's kind of a weird position to be in. How do you teach your kids to do good in school? Make sure you learn all the bullshit that isn't true. There's part of me that understands that one of my advantages is that I know the official side of things so well. That makes my argument stronger. But, I tell my kids all the time, like, I don't want you doing this. I don't want you to be the pariah. My oldest son will entertain, tell people he's Christian and shit just to avoid the conversation with them. Not even the conversation, the condemnation from them, I should say. Because he's already experienced it. He's already experienced kids in his school treating him differently because he says, yeah, I don't believe in God. And of course, he says it from an intelligent perspective. He's not some idiot. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy shit. I mean, it's so crazy because it's everything. Like, I look around and I think, everywhere I'm looking, beneath where I can see, there's way more to it. There's tunnel networks and underground cities everywhere, especially here in Detroit. In Detroit, it's a pretty famous underground, like, salt mine city or some shit. And I've always wondered, like, this is an old, defunct mine, meaning it was used a long time ago, and how did they do it? I was watching a My Lunch Break video that was on Facebook. Somebody had clipped it and presented it. And it was just showing multiple churches and multiple cathedrals all over the world. And at this point, it's just like, I can't have time for the people that like, you don't think we built it. You know we didn't do that. But you won't let that go to the next level. You know they're lying to you. And if you take any time to look into the history of anything, like it's funny to me, like the Pentagon seems like it's one of the least extravagant buildings, right? It's not, at least on the surface, at least if you think about it, you don't think about the Pentagon being, ornately decorated and constructed in this way. And I think like a lot of the, like I'm surprised that my lunch break and Lucius Aurelian, I'm surprised nobody's done a Pentagon breakdown. And I don't know, maybe it's because of the government connection, like, I maybe that makes it off limits. I don't really know. But or maybe it's the fact that the Pentagon is said to have been built in the 40s, and maybe there's like a cutoff. People don't tend to think about the 40s as being part of the old world, so to speak. I don't know. I don't know. I ask those guys. I never do ask, or, never get responses when I comment on their shit, or if I do, it doesn't tell me I do, so I don't know about them. But the Pentagon is easily one of the most fascinating stories, construction stories ever. I mean, the Pentagon is a significant building. It's the second largest office building in the world, apparently. And the narrative that it was built from September 11th, 1941, because the September 11th attacks were on the 60th anniversary, not 59th, not 61st, the 60th anniversary of the Pentagon's construction day, which also happened to be the day the contracts got signed, which also, it's 9 days after the site was, I mean, the entire narrative is as insulting and stupid as it gets, because it was wartime, so they kicked the construction into high gear, and they were able to complete it in 14 months, 15 months if you include the planning phases. I mean, that's not a possibility. It took a year to fix the damage from the 9/11 attack. A year to fix one small section of the Pentagon. It took them 14 months to build it start to finish. There was nothing there, and 14 months later, there was a 7-story building, 5 above, 2 below. They have 2 floors below the ground. 7-story building. 14 months to build it. And it's, 7-story, a sort of normal 7, it would take a long time to build. Almost 1 million square feet of building. I can't remember what the actual square footage is, I'm sorry. But the size of the Pentagon is not, like, you just underestimate it. You don't even think about it. But it's so fucking big, like you sitting there can't fathom how big the Pentagon is. And somebody says Tartaria. And it's strange that if you look up Tartaria Pentagon, nothing's going to come up. In the Tartaria world is thought to look into the Pentagon. I mean, one of the most symbolically significant buildings ever created. The fucking building is a pentagon. What do we do? What? The building is the chosen Star of David. I mean, it's insane. Yeah, no, they don't even go with the slave narrative. It was a construction company that was specifically created to build the Pentagon. Well, no, the construction company built lots and lots of monuments down in Washington, like a shit ton of them, all at the same time, all pre-war. Like, obviously, it's the pseudonym fucking construction company, but the design company, the architects, were a firm that was created specifically for this, and the head architect was removed from the project halfway through due to improper sexual something or other. Like, it's really vague, so you can just assume he was fucking with kids and got caught. Like, it's fucking crazy, right? Why do you want to shout out? Why would anybody want to shout out? I don't matter. And you want to shout out to my 5 viewers? So, we're gonna go through some shit here. So
So what is your answer, since you know everything?
I want to talk about I mean, it really does go with, like, there's just so much more to the narrative than we realize, and it's really frustrating how we're so affected by this system, and yet we don't realize, like we focus on the narrative that they want us to focus on. We don't think of the truther side of things as being manipulated, and you know, guys like Ian Carroll make it really difficult, because Ian Carroll is really, really good at what he does. You know, from a presentation standpoint, he's really good at what he does. His voice works. You know, he's a weird looking guy, but he's not an ugly guy. You know, his video style is great. Oh yeah, by the way, somebody turned the stove on last night, and it was on all night long. The gas was on all night long. But it was on the lowest setting, so it was barely coming out. But still, it must have been on all night. Don't know how that's possible. Maybe it's the ghosts. Yeah, you're right. It's not the Star of David. You're right. I'm wrong. The Star of David isn't that shape. The Pentagon isn't that. No, you're right. Fucking stupid, man. But it's like you guys, we've been so manipulated that we just don't see the reality in front of us. You know, how many of you know about the Havara Agreement? I'd be willing to bet none of you do. Unless you've been here, you know, or maybe there's the random truther that is only allowed a few views. But the Havara agreement completely destroys the Holocaust narrative. And it also it makes what's happening today a lot more coincidental, I guess. But the the Havara agreement was signed. It was an agreement between the Nazi Germany and the Zionist Union. I don't even know who that's supposed to be. Like, but the Zionist people, the Zionist representatives, to send at least 60,000 German friars to Palestine, to colonize Palestine in 1933. Long before there was an Israel. Long before there was any of the stuff that we're, told is more of a new thing or told happened May 15th, 1968 or 1948 or, the Havara Agreement completely blows that whole thing away. And it's not like it's some conspiracy theory. It's what you're supposed to know. It's the truth as far as you're supposed to know it to be. It's fucking crazy. Like again, look at the dumbass comments, right? Look at the desperation in the stupidity, because it's not like you can sit here. One, it's not like you know anything about the Havara Agreement. But two, if you did, it's not like you could pretend like I was wrong about something. There's nothing I'm wrong about here. There are these little pieces to the puzzle that really open eyes if you allow it to. The Israel Hayom Bottom of Darkness article. That tells you so much more than the article itself intends to tell you. The writers of the article, the interviewers, the people who are supposed to be the good guys in the article say some of the worst things. And they think that this is that inbred friar intelligence that thinks statements like opening the books on Israel demonizes Israel are a benefit to them, are a positive to them. You can't open up the books on Israel, that demonizes Israel. People don't remember that. It was either 2022 or 2023. No. Yeah, it was before the false flag, the October 7th false flag, where no Israelis were killed or taken hostages. Before that. It was the winter before that. Where the ICC, the International Criminal Courts, and the United Nations were talking about doing full-on investigation into what's going on, since the Israelis were said to be like their sort of mission statement was that they were just a temporary occupation, whereas clearly they're colonizing. And so they were saying that they wanted to do a deep dive into the Israeli books, and they were going to open the books on Israel and look at everything. And the excuse that Israel gave, the reason that the no that Israel gave was because, if quote, if you open up the books on Israel, you demonize Israel. And I know that like for me, I encourage you to open up the books on me. Nothing in my history is going to demonize me. Sure, I've made mistakes. Sure, I've made regrettable decisions and blah, blah, blah. But I have nothing in my history that I worry would come out and destroy my character or anything like that. I'm not Nick Fuentes. What? Like it's this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with that stupidity that says you open up the books and blah, blah, blah. Yet at the same time, they're in charge. And you think like imagine the dumbest person you know being in charge of your life. You wouldn't be okay with it. But that's sort of the way it works, right? Yes, I know everything. That's what I say. I love when you guys say that. Because again, this is that stupid inbred, this is your logic tells you that what you're saying is something mean. When anybody who's watching this knows I don't claim to know everything, but I am spitting out facts. And if you're saying, when you know everything, it's because you're acknowledging that I'm clearly a lot smarter than you. And this is that stupid, this is that chosen friar inbred mentality. This is just they're dumb. They really do think that they're like saying good things, and just the idea of setting an alarm so you can watch me every day and beg for attention while I ignore 99% of your comments. And yet you still just come back every day for more, getting outed as a pedophile and the chosen friar piece of shit that you are. That's a mentality that most people don't have. But that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with this inbred sort of just, it's so foreign to any of us because we would never do it. None of us would ever make a fake page so we could watch somebody that's already blocked us. None of you, no real people are going to find the guy that thinks we should kill pedophiles and overthrow the chosen nightmare control scheme and then waste hours trying to get their attention only, so when I succeed, I just make myself look stupid. Like, nobody does that. That's that inbred friar, that's that entitled, that's what comes with being these inferior, superior people, right? They're superior in their position in society, but they're inferior in every other way. And my page is a great example of it. Because they just won't, their existence on my page doesn't make sense to begin with. And then all they do is just, every single comment just brings it down lower and lower and lower. And ask them simple questions. Ask them why they're here. Ask them what their motivation is. They won't tell you. I can tell you. I can tell you that these fake profiles are more than likely Team Jorge or something along those lines. I can tell you that it's act.il. And I didn't even think about this. So, hey, you know how I constantly say that they're given the arguments to say to us, like you see the same wording from them all the time, the schizophrenic and stuff like that. Well, doesn't what I read you yesterday facilitate that when it talks about it connects 90% of American friars? Well, wouldn't also part of that training that they receive be exactly that?
So doTERRA puts out.
Hang on one sec. doTERRA puts out
doTERRA puts out a script of compliant language for anybody that gets a membership that wants to share, the power of essential oils in your health. Now this is a company that has I don't even know how many hundreds of thousands of members at this point worldwide. They have a compliance team that monitors all social media platforms and will send out notifications to people that are in violation of that compliance. I just got an email about one of our team members that put a post up that didn't follow these compliant guidelines. Now,
that's doTERRA.
that's like,
That's not
but that's
one of the most.
It gives you a glimpse because you think about that and you're like, that's not bullshit. They can monitor, you post pictures that have information on it. It's not necessarily text that AI can scroll through for that. Like, that shit exists. And
way more than you think it does.
way more than you think. And it's so
And to a much higher level than you can understand. But part of that programming is, like you just said, that you'll just think, like when I told you yesterday about the police force, you go, I mean, I'm going to have to see that for myself. It's like we're so programmed to think, oh, that's not true. Why? How did that happen? How are we so programmed? So many people believe in a Jesus that they have no evidence for, but then you go, well, look, there's all this evidence for this. Why don't you believe this?
Because that was like the campaign in the 50s where, you believe the narrative unless the Tom Brokaw fucking reported it out or Walter Cronkite. It wasn't real. It's just bullshit. It's somebody trying to poison your mind and brainwash you.
Yeah, but
that was the marketing campaign that went out in the 50s.
But we're way far past that. Most of those people are dead.
They're dead, but that mentality has been passed down to generations because those people got it full throttle and then taught their kids, and they're like.
But it's crumbling.
Don't let your daughter look in the mirror and say she's pretty. That's conceited. You can't do that.
So the reason somebody is here every day is because I drive them nuts. So it's quite entertaining. That makes sense why you would be here every day.
I have lots of projects around his house that will drive you fucking nuts. Come on over.
No, we don't want pedos at our house. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to end well for them, but we'll keep them busy with all kinds of shit that'll drive them nuts before that.
Nope. No. But this is like, it comes down to that arrogance again, and I keep talking about this. Most people's arrogance, it's not that hard to get into. It's not that hard to show. Because as soon as it gets into literally anything that's happening outside of your house, you arrogantly believe what you want to believe. There's plenty of evidence against whatever it is you might want to believe.
Well, the crazy thing is, like, again, doTERRA puts out this, it has this police force to scan for non-compliant language so the FDA doesn't have a hissy fit. And this is a company.
Right.
Like, people believe
This
in
isn't the
oil.
highest level government.
This isn't like a religious belief structure that you would, put
Well,
your
no,
life on the line
this is
for.
beyond that, though. This is government. It's beyond religious. Because, like it says, they're the only interfaith based organization, police organization, that has a direct line to the FBI and the Department of Justice and all these other things. Like, it's and then when
And that
you
had
look
to be
in,
negotiated at some point. Like, we demand to have a direct line, And
I don't think there was any negotiations. I don't think that's how that works. I think they just sort of do it.
using the guilt of the Holocaust to get their special requests.
I mean, I think they're in so many positions of power. Everyone has an APAC rep. I think it's all just, it's just clockwork at this point. There's no manipulation. There's no. They just do it because everybody already knows better. I mean, I don't think you're allowed into the circle without proving yourself to be a player to begin with. They don't accidentally let someone like me into the circle. They only let you into the circle if you've already been at the parties. I come here because guy knows this world is upside down and backwards. You come here because it's true. That's the reason you come here, is because it's true. Like, truthfully, they'd be dead. Big fireball would burn all of your shit off. So stupid. I hate this show so much. I mean, you have to love the crybaby that keeps coming in here and pretending like I'm guess making this shit up. Like, I don't even know where what your motivation is. Am I making up what Wikipedia says? That arrogance of, if you don't know about it, it must not be true. Everything is so controlled by arrogance. It's really a weird thing to realize. Especially when you're called arrogant all the time and you're going, well, I don't know where that's from. Guy Nikki knows everything. Yeah, you ask me what the temperature on Jupiter is, I have no idea. You ask me how the stock market works, I have no fucking idea. You ask me about the doTERRA stuff, I really don't have too much of an idea. When you ask me about this one particular thing, I'm confident in saying I'm an expert in it because I guarantee I've spent over 10,000 hours doing this. And I've put myself out there in the most vulnerable way every day for a very long time. And I never have any opposition that makes any sort of sense. Right? Like just the most desperate bullshit starts coming out. Now it's Adderall. Now I'm on Adderall, not just crack and meth, but Adderall.
If you were on Adderall, I would have knocked your ass out and buried you in the backyard a long time ago. You would have driven all of us insane, like the Energizer Bunny on crack.
Yeah.
No, he needs no Adderall.
Have never had a desire to take Adderall. Never. I don't like uppers, so. Belch. I mean, it's the truth. I'm the guy that wakes up in the morning and is ready and rearing to go. I drink tea because I like it, not because I need my caffeine.
Well, not all the tea you drink is caffeinated anyhow.
Yeah, most of it
is because you like the English and Irish breakfast, but you do like your peppermint tea and your cinnamon tea. And
Sure. Yeah.
The green tea, the Earl Grey green, that doesn't have caffeine in it.
Adderall is meth. Yes,
Basically.
it is. He's a self-disrespecting Jewish person I mean, again, what are these arguments? Do you honestly sit there and think, I'm going to type this is going to get him? And then you type it out and you read it and you're like, yeah, that'll do it.
Too bad you're not Jewish, because if you were Jewish, then you could have, more of a platform to try to make change within your community.
Absolutely. If I was Jewish, everything I say would have more effect. If I was like, yeah, I was raised in the cult and I was smart enough and decent enough to break free of it, like that would add so much weight to everything I'm saying. But this is what inbred
You'd also
friar.
have a bag of gold somewhere.
You're my bag of gold, sweetheart. But this is what inbred friar bullshit does. This is how they operate. Understand that this is literally the best that he can do, or they can do. They're not sitting on some really great argument that's just going to destroy me. They're just waiting for the right time to say it. And until that point, they're going to say a bunch of dumb shit that makes them look stupid. No. This is the very best they can come up with. And it's that level of stupidity that it shouldn't be in the position of power that it's in. How did we let such gutter trash friar bullshit, how did we let it take over like this? And it's just simple psychology, man. It's not about the most powerful and strongest. It's about the manipulation and just telling people from an early age, we are your God's chosen people. We are better than you. You're not supposed to question our thing. You're barely supposed to talk about it. We do what we want to do, and you just take it.
Fuck yeah. In a stunning live broadcast, Kelly Osbourne announced she would pull all of Ozzy's music off Amazon, citing Jeff Bezos' open support for the Trump administration. The declaration hit like a thunderclap across the entertainment world. Within seconds, Donald Trump fired back on Truth Social, calling Osbourne a washed-up rebel looking for relevance. But Kelly didn't flinch. With that signature calm intensity, she replied, "This isn't about politics, it's about principle. If you stand with corruption, you stand against art." The audience erupted. What followed was nothing short of explosive. Trump's team scrambled to respond. Amazon stock chatter spiked overnight, and fans flooded social media declaring Kelly just did what no one else dared. That's hilarious.
Sure.
I mean, this is how we can make, more impactful stands. People that have influence and power.
Yeah, but what are they doing?
Shit.
She's saying she's going against the Trump administration. Well, the Trump administration's the one on the way out.
We still have 3 years of his nonsense, and
It doesn't matter.
if he finds a way, he's going to sit there for longer.
For sure. But
it's something. It's more than the nothing most people are doing.
True, but it's still a manipulation. It's still not calling out what the problem is. And unless somebody's calling out the problem, then they're manipulating people one way or another. It's like the wiki drops, right? The wiki dumps. When Snowden dumped all that shit online, it made the sitting situation look bad, which the incoming situation, the Trump administration, took full advantage of. And that's how that works. They by doing this kind of shit in the tail end when they don't have to win another election or anything like that. It's like when they claim that when Pizzagate was this really big thing and it was everywhere, And suddenly the government claims to have arrested 500 people out of Northern California. But no acknowledgement, no identities, no nothing came from the story, nothing. But they gave, like, you're talking about what's going on with this Pizzagate, blah blah blah, and they go, oh, don't worry, we arrested 500 people, and you go, oh, okay, I guess I'll look over here then. Like, that's how that works. And they gave us an Ashton Kutcher, who's like, I don't even know what the hell I was looking at. It looked like a hearing, but it wasn't a hearing. They weren't in Washington. But Ashton Kutcher's talking about his organization, this, that, and the other thing, while the chick behind him can't help but laugh at just about everything he says. And we're also talking about the guy who, when he was 23, he was making out with a 15-year-old, maybe 14, 15-year-old. On, like, we have footage of it. They show episodes of that. That's literally child exploitation material that's on TV. When she first started, apparently she lied and said she was 16 when she was really 15 or 14 or something. Mila Kunis. And of course, nobody could verify it, so they just went with it. Out of all the thousands of other actresses that they had, the thousands and thousands of other actresses that could have been picked for the part, nope, they just happened to pick the Jewish girl. And apparently, according to her, she had never kissed a boy before, and Aston taught her how to kiss, backstage. He ends up being Demi Moore's bitch for a little while, and then after that, he ends up marrying the girl that he taught how to kiss when she was 15 and he was 23. And he's supposed to be the advocate? He's supposed to be that guy? I mean, it's fucking crazy, right? It's crazy. And apparently that show was full of them. Because the Hyde guy, is in prison. And he's going to be doing a long time for what he did. You telling me all those guys didn't know what he was doing, what he was into? This shit is just so intertwined and entangled, and it's not complicated. One of the biggest, falsehoods is that it's, it exists because it's so complicated and it's so, it's so difficult to put all the pieces together, and that it's not. It's a hell of a lot more obvious than people think it is. So the other day I stumbled across this Secure Community Network page. And the Secure Community Network is the secret. I mean, I don't even, it's like it's the strangest shit. It's hard to even give it a description because you have to know the whole thing. SCN is a friar security organization in North America. It works with hundreds of synagogues to provide safety guidance and threat intelligence. SCN liaises with law enforcement and other organizations to provide best practices for friar communal security. Like, that's sort of a, what the fuck are we talking about here? It's a nonprofit. It's a quasi-official umbrella security agency for the American friar community. What the fuck does that mean? It has the broadest mandate of any organization that specializes in providing security for friar faculties or facilities. The SCN replaced the Anti-Defamation League as the principal clearinghouse for friar security issues, though the ADL still trains law enforcement to identify threats. I mean, it's just crazy. The aftermath of the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. See, the thing is, too, when you look into the narrative regarding this agency, and you look at how they base it off of three, in my opinion, extremely obvious false flag events, manufactured events that just aren't true. But these manufactured events that perfectly fit the narrative as to the justification, the motivation for this type of agency, by making it sound like they are, they're always so in danger. They're always so, in such need of security and blah, blah, blah. It's such a crazy bunch of bullshit. And literally every story from the shooting where 11 people supposedly died, again, all they'd have to do is take off, like, they could have 5 people on life support. 5 people, 6 people, 7 people on life support, that they're just waiting for the right time to be able to take them off. Because they have this thing, this plan ready. And then there's a car accident, and say 3 or 4 people are involved in that, elderly people. And now you have your 9 people, along with the 2 retarded guys that you don't want to take care of anymore, whose parents just died, and they just became a ward of the state, so they became the state's problem. And they happen to be the 2 youngest people at the synagogue that on that Saturday, or on that Sunday, because friars have service on Sunday, right? Isn't that when friars go to synagogue? But your 11 people is easy to come by. And of course, happens on Sunday. 5 of the people are buried on, or 6 of the people are buried on Monday. The other 5 people are buried on Tuesday. Because that's how funerals and shit work. That's how things work, right? When your mom passed, the funeral was the next day, right? Funeral was the next day. Grave was dug, Nope. And it's, you guys had an idea the time was coming, but you didn't know. It wasn't like she was shot. But imagine what you went through with that. To think that somebody is shot and then there's a funeral for them the next day. Just think about how much went into what you dealt with your mom.
We're still dealing with it. I'm still trying to get the headstone for her.
Right.
Like, the funeral wasn't until almost a full month after she passed.
FREIER.
Because of logistics and money and, reaching out to family and scheduling conflicts with cemeteries and luncheon locations and.
So now multiply that by 5.
Right. There's so much involved. Now, it's not to say that, especially those in their aging years, don't have very specific instructions and have everything already set up. So then the family members that are in charge of it just have to set the date. Some people,
Tomorrow being the date.
Like, that's just
Come on.
to me. But then again, that kind of goes back to, they've got like their own emergency alert system. So maybe somebody put it in the bulletin,
you wouldn't know who they were until
David died.
they wouldn't know until But still, it
You
wouldn't.
know, and that goes out to all their phones via
when
notification.
when you
Jewish
know
alert, Jewish alert. You know.
when you know that that's damn near every one of them have important family members in Israel. That and how important funerals are, that they would want to fly in for the funerals. That they have family. More than likely, they have family in Florida. In Arizona. In California. To think about all of these travel accommodations and just everything associated with it. Just you're having your suit pressed. You know, you got to have your suit pressed and looking good. You got to have your dress ready to go. Like it just doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit the reality that we're told exists and the way that we're told things work. And when things don't fall into that, that simple box where you can explain it like you would anything else, it probably deserves your attention. But you look at that narrative where 11 people supposedly died. And then you look at the Grafton Thomas machete attack, where, again, the only person that died was a 72-year-old man some 6 months later who supposedly died from his injuries. Yet again, if this 72-year-old man just died, everybody would be like, oh, that's too bad, but he was 72, so. And that's what you see over and over and over again. 24-hour burial for homicide is sus. Absolutely. Especially a national, shooting type of a deal. But what's even crazier is when they claim that the murder victim was buried within hours of being found dead. Like with Samantha Wohl. The insane Samantha Wohl story. Where they tried everything they could to blame it on a black guy. And when they couldn't find him guilty of anything, they found him guilty of lying to police, which gave him a simple sentence of 18 months to 25 years. Tell me you've heard of that before. Tell me you've heard of somebody getting any sort of sentence that's an 18-month to 25-year sentence. Have you ever heard of such an open-ended sentence? All the law shows that you watch, all the bullshit. Have you ever heard of somebody getting 18 months to 25 years in prison? No. Especially for lying to police. I'm here every day, dude. Same time, same place. If you're not finding me, it's because you're not allowed to. And that should tell people something. When you have people that are like, hey, where have you been? I've been here. That means they were looking, they couldn't find me. But Samantha Wohl was said to have been found dead at between 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. on October 21st, 2023. The morning edition newspapers from October 22nd, 2023, talk about how beautiful her funeral was and that over 1,000 people attended it. She was found at between 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. the day before. This news is coming out. You have to figure that news is probably put together at like 3, 4 in the morning. So less than 24 hours after she's found stabbed to death, there's no suspects. There's, it's not like it's open and shut. And yet within hours, she would have had to have been, examined, autopsied, embalmed, gussied up, hole dug, 1,000 people come through, all of that within a couple of hours. No investigation, right? I thought maybe you were taking off there. Well, I did have a week of punishment time.
Bad boy.
And when I tried to get YouTube to engage with me and tell me what I did wrong. And I not only did I speak to a representative, I actually got to a supervisor. And they basically said, we can't tell you what you did wrong. That way, you can't avoid, like, you can't go around it. And I'm going, wait, how do I not do the thing that I did if I don't know what I did? And they're like, yeah, we understand how frustrating that may be, but it goes against our policy to tell you what you did wrong. What are you talking about? That's just insanity. That doesn't make any sense. And that just brings it back around to ask yourself, guys like Ian Carroll, guys like Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes has apparently been banned off of every social media platform, yet I still see his videos everywhere. So people are allowed to clip his videos and post those, but I don't know. But guys like Ian Carroll makes some of the best videos I've ever seen. He breaks down financials. He does some really good shit. And he doesn't censor himself at all. He does believe in God, and he does believe we can't blame the whole cult. We should focus on Zionists instead. But why are there so many truthers? I am Blakely. Why are there so many people that are allowed to say a shitload more than I am to a shitload more people than I am, and they don't get in trouble for it? Isn't it weird? I mean, it's not weird when you understand the concept of controlled opposition. Lots of people will say, yeah, controlled opposition when it's someone they don't like. The hardest thing to do is apply that same thought process to the things you like. And to think that the guy that you like, your Ian Carrolls, that guy is controlled opposition, that's not something you want to think about. You know what? I want to look up something before I go further into this. I'm actually not even doing what I wanted to do. So Billy Carson doesn't actually have a wiki page either. That's really fucking crazy, right? I was thinking he might have a wiki page. Because surprisingly, Nick Fuentes has a wiki page and it's pretty in-depth. But Billy Carson doesn't. For some fucked up reason. And of course he's been very quiet lately, hasn't he? Cheryl's viral photo of determined surfer making waves with makeshift board. That's what Billy Carson's doing now? He's on the Celebrity Insider 18 hours ago. Billy Carson shares a viral photo of determined surfer. Billy Carson has made a revelation to the public with an extremely strong and highly viral image that is getting talked about globally. This image is of an extremely young man surfing on a foam plank instead of a surfboard. The writer and the scientist gave the impressive picture to their education philosophy of starting with limited means rather than waiting for ideal conditions. Along with the picture, Carson added his distinct motivational message about the universe leaning towards action rather than perfection, consequently promoting his 4BK Academy. That's it. RuPaul's Drag Race judge net worth. See who's the richest. Billy Carson, wiki, early life, career, family. Okay. Well. Billy Carson was born and raised in New York City, a city full of challenges, yet rich in learning opportunities. Gotta love when somebody's biography starts off with like some literary, some bullshit like that. The sun was shining. It was a warm 72 degrees, and I remember the smell on the breeze as Billy Carson walked in that door. From an early age, he developed a fascination with ancient civilizations, astronomy, and the enigmas of the universe. Although he faced a difficult upbringing, Carson was resolute in his pursuit of these interests. Navigating through financial difficulties and social barriers, Carson's journey exemplifies resilience and dedication. His insatiable curiosity about the world propelled him to transcend his circumstances, ultimately establishing him as a prominent advocate for alternative knowledge and self-empowerment. I mean, seriously, how many different people could I just switch the name out and it would be the exact same biography? Oh, that's it? That's all I get, huh? Billy Camrick Carson II. I find it strange that these people are so difficult to find information on. The only one that's easy to find is Nick Fuentes, and it's not good. He is a piece of shit. I hate thinking that he's associated with the same things I am. And that there are people who, because people just naturally do that. They lump in all of your shit together. So if you're saying, horrible things about blacks and gays and women and all that, well, and you're this bigot piece of shit, well, that means everything you're saying about the Friars isn't true either. He's this psychotic fucking Christian, white nationalist. His last name is Fuentes, and he's a white nationalist. Guys, are you paying attention yet? Why would that make sense? It's all right there in front of us, guys. I don't claim to be some, stupid, fucking brilliant, this, that, and the other. Like, none of that shit. He thinks he knows everything. I don't think I know everything. What I'm learning makes me question things even more. And I just want to know. I just want answers. I just want to be able to understand the world that I live in. And at this point, my understanding of the world that I live in is completely different than what I'm supposed to believe. And I'm not a fan of it. You know, I wish it wasn't this way. I didn't want to lose my family over this. I didn't want to lose my friends over this.
Now,
One of my oldest friends, the guy I went to California with, you know, the guy I went to kindercare with, when COVID was a big thing. This is a guy who's like 6'6", 400 pounds. He's a big motherfucker.
is he still big? Though?
I don't know. He would get himself in shape and then go back. Like, I don't know. He's naturally a big guy. He was big his whole life. He has health issues. But he was a huge dude. When COVID was hit, his aunt, who I met when we moved out to California, and she was old and brittle then. By the time COVID came around 20 years later, she had to be like 90. I think she was 94. And he was upset because the doctors and shit, and she was in a wheelchair. She was on breathing machines. She was on every medication possible. She was like every bit of stereotype 94. And when COVID happened, you know, she died, and they said that COVID killed her, and he was all upset. You know, COVID killed my aunt. Everybody go out there, get your vaccines, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I reached out to him and I'm like, please do not do this, dude. Your aunt died of 94. She didn't die from COVID. She died of 94. She was fucked up. She was old. She was brittle. Like, please do not do this. This is not the right thing. And he got so mad at me for not going with the narrative and for, you know, caring about him and begging for him to not. I mean, if you haven't seen all of the stuff that's come out, or any of it, I can't even say all of it because none of us have seen all of it. But like, if you've seen the stuff about the blood clots and the weird clotting that's being found in people, and these huge, long, they look like shoestrings in people. Like, it's so terrifying. There's a meme that's been going around forever that says nobody regrets not taking it. And that's absolutely the same to this day. If I had taken it, I would be terrified. I would be absolutely terrified if I knew that I had fallen for it and that, you know, all the stuff that's coming out now about it. How could you not be? You know, how do you just go, oh, it's all just conspiracy theory. It's all just conspiracy theory. The people that gave it to me and would be held responsible for if something was wrong, they're telling me it's okay, so it's okay. Like, how do you do that? Where does that work in your head?
Which is the cutest.
You know, this is all just, you know, we are being victimized by a really well-oiled, you know, well-crafted machine. And, you know, I don't know. Like, I can take this to the point where I can actually understand their motivations in just about everything. You know, I can understand their motivations in just about everything other than the child stuff. I just can't get my head around that one. But even if you know, like, I can understand why the elite keep us stupid. If in fact what we live in is a set, and we're just a reality-based TV show that needs conflict to exist in order to satiate, to satisfy the watchers. The watchers. You know, I get it. Conflict is interesting. We don't watch anything. We, as regular Goyim humans, we don't watch anything that isn't conflict based. Conflict is the base of all entertainment. We don't think about it that way. And so maybe they need to keep conflict going in order to keep the show interesting. Because the previous versions of us that made it to the point where we could build pentagons and you know, Eiffel Towers and all these other things, and pyramids and step wells and cathedrals and fucking you name it. Like, it really is eye-opening and shocking when you just start asking the questions. When you just start asking how this shit got here. You know, in this Hawaii 5-0, the police headquarters is one of these old world buildings that looks like it belongs in, you know, medieval Europe somewhere. And yet it's in the middle of Hawaii. How? How? It's you're fucking kidding me. So yesterday I started talking about the Friar Federations of North America. Formerly the United Friar Communities, UJC, the JFNA, is an American friar umbrella organization for the Friar Federations system, representing over 350 independent friar communities across North America that raise and distribute over $2 billion annually. Think about that. Including through planned giving and endowment programs to support social welfare, social services, and educational needs. So when crazy people like me say that they live for free, they only work if they want to, that there are plenty of them that have... There's this really... Did any of you watch... He already knows what it tastes like. Trust me. You don't ask that question without knowing. What? Oh. Fuck, what was I talking about? Fuck, what was I talking about?
No.
I don't know. Friar Federations, I see you may be correct on that, but I hope we never find out. Anyway, this is just telling you that oh yeah, soft white underbelly. There's I don't know how many of you watched the soft white underbelly, which is a
Crazy.
It's just a really great... This guy provides this really great platform. There's no frills. There's no special effects. He's not even on camera, right? He just interviews people, and it's regular people that have these extraordinary fucking, you know, pimps and hookers and drug addicts and gangsters and, you know,
like the most desperate, destitute situations ever.
Right. And he gives them some money, and he offers to let them tell their story, and I think he does a really great service. I don't think it's exploitation.
No.
I think he does a really great thing, and he's very respectful to everyone, even like the most bottom of the barrel kind of piece of shit character. He treats everyone kind of the same.
He's a true journalist, like completely neutral, and doesn't put his spin on it.
Well, that's impossible. We all have there's the
Very
American
rarely.
perspective. Well, but there's just the American perspective. It's always going to be there, but that's not to argue. But he does this one interview with a Hasidic woman who grew up in like Pennsylvania or the Pittsburgh area in one of those Hasidic families where they have multiple kids. Their entire lives are funded by welfare programs. They live a really good life. Like they're not like, destitute, 9 children and nobody works, and they're still living it. But she openly talks about how commonplace the abuse is. Not just the physical abuse, but the sexual abuse. And how common it is throughout the community, and how everybody knows about it, and it's just the way it is, and nobody seems to fight. But she left. She couldn't do it. She was a beautiful woman, and I think she was scheduled to marry somebody she didn't want to marry, so she bounced. But you have, there are inside sources that will tell you the same things. Of course, they're not elevated to the top of society. Like, of course, you don't know about the Havara agreement, but it's there if you look. The Havara agreement it's like shocking, right? It's like one of these things where it's like you would, if you weren't reading it on, say, Wikipedia, you would have to, you would question the source. You would be like, come on, where did you get this from? But it's literally it's the conspiracy that you're not supposed to talk about or even suggest exists. Right there, right there. It's well-known, common knowledge, I guess. At least in the historical context. In 1933, the Zionist federations and the Nazis signed an agreement to allow 60,000 plus German friars to relocate to Palestine. In 1933. Sounds like colonization to me. And it just so happens to be that it's the beginning of the conflict that opens up the door for Palestine's existence to begin with. 60,000 were sent in 1933 to start the process off. I mean, how do you not see it as that? So that by 1948, they've multiplied. They've taken over all kinds of things. They've started all kinds of organizations. How many friars went to Epstein Island for vacation? We'll never know. Are you aware of any nuclear bomb shelters in your vicinity? Do you research? They're everywhere. Detroit is full of them. But they're just off limits. You'll find, like, you used to be able to find the signs a lot more frequently. I'm sure they've been hidden at this point, especially since the Tartaria stuff started taking off. They started really hiding it. Do you guys know about the water stations found in the middle of Lake Michigan?
Do we have water? I think there was a water main break at 6 and Inkster. Yesterday on that water was running. It was just announced 18 minutes ago, like over the loudspeakers, I guess.
So are we going to have to go get Nate? what I can tell, we have water. I don't know how long it would take for it to.
Well, they announced they were shutting it off 18 minutes ago, so.
Right, but there'd still be plenty in the pipes to come through.
I don't know. I would think 20 minutes ago, I would think that's enough time. It does get shut off. That's why our bill paid. So.
This shit is just, it's like, when you find out about a Havara agreement and you think back on, especially if you're my age, right? If you're my age, you know that every single year you would have a month-long lesson on World War II and Holocaust and, every year in history, there would be a month-long lesson at least about that shit. And you never heard anything about a Havara agreement. Do you know what kind of food stores they kept for us back in those days? In the green barrels, cherry candy, and saltine crackers. They knew you weren't going to be alive too much longer. No, it wasn't that at all. All of the whole nuclear bomb, Cold War, that's all just bullshit. That's all just bullshit used against us. They and us. Our historical presentation is false. There never was a Cold War. This was all just WWE being practiced in front of us. There's that famous footage of Stalin, Hitler, and Churchill all hanging out together. There's the famous photo from Bohemian Grove of, Bill Clinton, young Bill Clinton, and George Bush, and Governor Wallace. All it's all just bullshit, you guys. Look up the Nation of Islam. How fucking crazy is that narrative? Again, for the guy that doesn't know anything and is making shit up all the time, the Nation of Islam narrative is one of the wildest ones. I don't even think you've heard me talk about this one, have you? Sweetheart, have you heard the whole Nation of Islam stuff? Okay, so you know who this piece of shit is, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Do they look similar? Even like the way their ears flap out? Don't they look very, very similar? That guy is Wallace. He's the founder of the black Muslims. That guy. All right, Netanyahu. Oops, cow. Netanyahu, Wallace Fard Muhammad. Netanyahu, look at those ears. Wallace Fard Muhammad, look at those ears. Wallace Fard Muhammad is the founder of the Nation of Islam. I mean, what part of that makes sense to you? Where does your brain stop? Because I know if I asked you, who do you think founded the Nation of Islam, you're probably going to say that fucking goofy ass, that Elijah Muhammad guy, right? Or you'd say, you don't know, which is another one of those weird things where you would think it would be more common knowledge. You definitely wouldn't pick, if I gave you a lineup of people and said, pick out the founder of the black Muslims, that wouldn't be the guy you would pick out. Hitler got away and retired in Argentina. In exchange, America got to go to the moon. You're half right. We definitely haven't been to the moon. I want an atmospheric generator. I'm doing hydroponic farming. All my neighbors get veggies and fruits from me. That's great. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. I agree that Hitler got away. Hitler was just an actor. He was hired to play the part. He played the part well. And then they, when it was time to pull the plug, he simply went to Argentina. It's actually a lot more well documented than people probably realize. But yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. That America went to the moon, now that's a joke. Maybe America got the we went to the moon narrative. But the fact that if you think we went there, like, that's funny. It's and the thing is, again, when it comes to any of this shit, we talk about it like we know, but we only know what the people who didn't tell us about the Havara Agreement tell us to think, tell us to know. I mean, the Wallace Fard Muhammad narrative is as much of a joke, false narrative as I've ever heard. Who do you think carved those canals? Those aren't natural. It would cost more to fake it than it would. Yeah, that makes sense. That is the dumbest. That is the what's his name? But that's the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing. It would cost more to fake it than it would to do it. No, it fucking wouldn't. No, it really wouldn't. So where did the rocket go? It didn't go up. If you look at any rocket footage, it goes off to the side. And the splashdown, what aircraft did they push that capsule out of? The astronauts were up aboard when it opened up. I mean, again, all of that is easily faked. I know the capsule that supposedly they splashed down in wasn't the capsule that they were flying around in. And I don't know where the hell the lunar lander went. And the Mars rover inside that thing that was supposedly the splashdown nose capsule. But you're doubting the capability of Hollywood. And Hollywood has been lying to you about everything forever. Unless you honestly think aliens destroyed the White House with one big laser shot. Is that your you believe stuff because it's on TV? Anybody who believes we went to the moon in 1969 and in 2025 you can't vacation there, he's fucking stupid. If we went to the moon in 69, it would be a vacation destination in 2025. It would be easily done in 2025. We wouldn't be like, well, we just forgot how to do it. We taped over the original footage. we lost all of the telemetry data that, the proof as to actually how we did everything. We lost all that. Like, it's all just stupid. It's all just fucking stupid. You think it costs more money to create an animation of the James Webb Space Telescope launching out into space and starting its journey than it does to launch a fucking satellite into space 1,000,000 to 1,000,000 miles out further away from the Earth, or from the sun, than the Earth, caught in one of the Lagrange pockets, L2 or L5, whatever one it is. I don't know. Like, again, you end up arguing about stuff that you don't actually know about. You're just sort of arguing from a feelings perspective. But you haven't actually looked into it all. You can't sit here and argue factual shit with me. You're just going off of feelings. Let's see. I agree with you on lots of stuff, but this ain't one of them. Well, you think we went to the moon? Well, the lander was manually landed before we had cars. We'll figure that out. They would all have to keep their mouths shut for all this time. Nobody has ever come forward and said, yeah, we faked it. Well, actually, there have been people that have come forward and said shit isn't right, but it's not as many people as you think. And there's all kinds of shit. Like you know that Hollywood has all kinds of secrets that you don't know anything about, right? All sorts of Hollywood tricks, screen tricks, this, that, and the other, that you just have no idea how it works. And there are millions and millions of people that have gone through Hollywood. Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it's not true. It's more that arrogance coming through, assuming that they couldn't keep it secret. Of course they could. And do what? What do you mean, vacation-wise? You're saying if you could go to the moon and, see the Earth and see the stars and jump around in 0G, you wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't do that? You're saying scientifically we wouldn't have had all sorts of bases and stations and shit up there, and then me using that as a platform to go further? And come on, dude. It was done on a slide rule, not a computer. Right. Oh, yeah, that makes sense then. Get thousands of people to believe all this. It's easy to trick people into shit. There's all kinds of things that happen where only the people at the top know about it. And there are thousands and thousands of people involved. If you manipulate what people think, it doesn't, if you manipulate how people think, then what people think doesn't matter. And you're talking about, a world that you have no connection to whatsoever. You're just assuming that all the people involved are like you. Do you know that there's what they tell us is the Great Garbage Patch in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? And it's a no-fly zone. If you look at the flight patterns, they fly around this area. How do we know there's not land there? There's not land there where the people there live really, really well, and they're used in whatever situations they need to be used in. Actually, it's in history books, and you'll probably be tested on it. What are you talking about? I mean, again, I don't understand why you would believe the narrative. What makes you believe any of it? What makes you believe any of the bullshit that has to do with space? Do you honestly think, with all the people out there that that have not only their lives on the line, like, so if you end up going to school and you become a NASA engineer or who specializes in lunar this, that, and the other, you literally only have one or two places you can work where that specific specialized degree is going to net you the amount of money that you make while doing the nothing you do all day. And when you are in that world, you have a family, you have a wife, she doesn't work. You have a big house. You and your wife each have cars. Your oldest kid has a car. All, three of your kids have a phone. They're in every single program possible. You walk around saying, well, I'm a NASA engineer, and everybody's like, ooh, let me give you the best steak. You're telling me you think the average person is going to give that up just to tell the truth, while also being given that threat that if you give this up, it's not just your life that's going to be ended. It's your children. It's your family. It's your mother, your father, your brother's kids. Don't you think when you tell people, hey, shut up and live the good life, or tell a secret that we'll just cover anyway, while getting your entire family killed, do you really think that people are going to just be like, oh no, I'm brave? The nerds who became NASA engineers, these aren't the badasses in school. These aren't the rebels. These are the people who kept their heads down and shut their mouths in school. They can show you all of the what's his name? Fucking Van Wilders. All the Van Wilder astronauts you can imagine. But they're not those guys. Especially not the engineers.
Maybe, but what kind of a kidnapper brings his victim to the ER?
I lean towards if it were fake, not many actually knew it, and the most were duped into believing via false computer readouts. Alright, so you think all these people can keep their mouth shut? I don't think it's that many people. And I think there are more people that speak out than you think, and those people get silenced. But it's what is the benefit to telling the truth? I mean, do you know anybody that's telling the truth, and other than the handful of people that are allowed to live that good life? But I mean, it's just it's goofy, and it's so think about this. When you say something about computers, what did computers in the 60s and early 70s look like? They were giant rooms. They were these huge machines with flashing lights and reel-to-reels on them. That's what we're told computers were. Basically, up until the early 80s, computers were cumbersome. And yet apparently, I mean, again, I think just like with submarines, the average person doesn't think about just how much would have to go into the operation of one of these vessels, and the split-second computer, the split-second decisions that would have to constantly be being made, split-second adjustments that would have to constantly be being made in order to maintain, every aspect of it, tipping over, just people, the arrogance comes in. and the arrogance in, not wanting to be challenged. You don't want somebody to be like, oh, you're wrong, you're stupid. And that's, when it comes to these certain topics, you're actually allowed to do that to people. If somebody says they don't believe we went to the moon, or that the earth isn't round, or whatever, you don't believe in God. These are a few things where in our super PC society, you're still allowed to attack those people. My future son-in-law is an engineer for NASA. Sure. And you think he's going to tell you the truth. Like, why do you think he would tell you the truth? Pussifal's narrative commits a lot of people to think what they think they know it, right? What makes you not believe any of it? Simple thought process. Think about what technology was in 69. Think about the fact that it's not a vacation destination in 2000. They're not mining it. They're not using it as a launch pad, nothing. We haven't been back since 72. We went 6 times in 4 years or something. Is it 72 or 74? I don't remember. But when you just think about the narrative that's given to you, it's stupid. Along with the round earth, spinning ball, flying through space, all that shit. It's all stupid. There's no evidence for these things. And when it's 2025, the evidence should be concrete. It shouldn't be something that people can question, that people can easily point to the fakery. Have you seen the video? A funny thing happened on the way to the moon. It's literally people. You say, people would speak out. Well, footage was leaked. The one of the Apollo missions, the first Apollo mission, where they say it takes 3 days to get from the Earth to the moon, the flight wise. And on day 2, the astronauts are in low Earth orbit, faking the moon or the Earth in the distance shot by filming the circular window and blocking out all the light, so you can see the round blue ball, blah blah blah. This footage exists, and on day 2 they were in low Earth orbit. The following day they're talking to the president on a magic telephone that extends from the moon to the Earth, back, landline. It's really goofy. We got to where we are in the space program now because of what they did then. Yeah, but we're not anywhere even close to what they did then. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Richard Branson went on a low Earth orbit flight that they made a big deal about. Hey, went on a low Earth orbit flight. We've been able to do that forever. What's the big fucking deal? We can't do shit today. Except we have this magical space station that doesn't have anti-gravity, this, that, or the other. No, it's perpetually falling into the spin of the Earth. It's perpetually falling at like 17,500 miles per hour. And yet somehow they can do space landings. And guess what? They don't actually have to do any of piloting because the computers do it all nowadays. So you don't have to explain how these pilots learned how to fucking dock a spaceship to another object moving at 17,500 miles per hour in space. It's the dumbest fucking shit. And if you say, dude, you can see the space station, really? 340 miles away? You think you can see that thing? 340 or 240. Either way, it's further than the your eyes can see.
I believe it was yo, what up, honey cheeks? Always say it like that.
It's mighty expensive to go to the moon on a rocket. Yeah, sure it is. That's what the problem is. It's too expensive. The excuses that people will come up with are just ridiculous. Well, we made it there. So you know how we like to do things like go somewhere and then never go back again. Yeah, we did it. It was a space race, and when we won the space race, well, there was no reason to go back. It's such a joke, man. It's such a ridiculous joke. The idea of being on a round ball, spinning around, magic gravity, keeping it in a loop around the sun. Like this is one of those things that I've never heard anybody else talk about it, but seems like a pretty basic thing to me. Here, science wife, you like this one.
What do you like better, the gray or black? Speaking of science.
The gray. The black one is uncomfortable. So if you're spinning something around, right? The bigger and heavier the object is, the stronger the string you're going to need to keep it on, right?
Yes.
So if gravity is like the magic string keeping the Earth spinning in its orbit 67,000 miles per hour, that's extremely fast. The string that would be used to hold the Earth in place would have to be weaker than the string used to hold mighty Jupiter in place, much further away, much bigger, and flying. I don't know how fast Jupiter flies, but it would take a thicker, stronger string to hold that Jupiter in place, correct?
Yes, except for you have to take into account the assistance that the motion takes
Yeah, it'd
off
be
of the string.
it would be more no, it's
Yes.
more tension. If you're spinning something around, it wants to fly off.
No, but
It doesn't want to fly in.
The motion helps take some of that tension off.
It doesn't take the tension off the string. It adds the tension to the string. The object is constantly trying to get away. The string is holding it in place. If you didn't have the string, the thing would fly off. So there's the faster you go, the more tension is going to be on that string. And the more weight, the bigger the thing is, the stronger the string is going to have to be to prevent the thing from flying off.
Right, but at the same time, Jupiter is a lot further away.
So you would need even more string.
The speed is slower.
It's not slower. I don't know how much. I don't think it's slower. However slow it is, it's still going to require thicker string to hold something further away that's bigger and heavier, that's more than likely traveling just as fast. Let's see. Right?
I would think, but
So if there is no string,
it's not that
it
black and white.
is that black and white.
It's not.
It is. I don't. Your
Distance
your
from the
argument
sun, size and
would
mass
require
of the
require
planet.
more. Right, would require more. Distance and mass and all that means Jupiter is bigger and further away, so it would require more effort, more energy to hold Jupiter in place. It still is though. It is. It's way more dense.
A softball is heavier than one of our big bouncy balls. Big bouncy ball is way bigger, but it's not as heavy.
Yeah, but that's not an accurate argument in this one. Jupiter is not does way less than the Earth does. How fast does Jupiter orbit the sun?
Jupiter orbits the sun at an average speed of about 13.1 kilometers per second.
Okay, so Jupiter is going 30,000 miles per hour, so about half. So to hold that thing in place is going to require more energy than it would, especially when you're talking about the Earth or even Mercury. So with Mercury, you're talking about something even smaller, much closer, right? It would require more force to hold Jupiter in place than it would be to hold Mercury in place. So if all of these planets are in between Jupiter and Mercury, or I mean Jupiter and the sun, how come the force that's holding Jupiter in place isn't pulling those other planets into the sun? Because it would require more pull on Jupiter to hold it in place than it would those other planets.
I don't know. You'd have to ask the sun. Maybe it's using its thumb for Jupiter.
That's true. I didn't think about.
Pinky
Oh,
finger for Mercury.
pigeons.
Well, pigeons are the answer.
Yeah, it's pigeons. I'm going to trust my teachers in school. Right, because your teachers in school are there to teach you. Well, and they're not held to a very strict standard that if they don't follow the curriculum to a T, they're replaced.
There's not a compliance team that's as effective as doTERRA or the other organization.
Yeah, but you have to think like each class that a teacher has, especially when you're talking about the higher grades, you're talking about 30 kids in the classroom. If that teacher were to start saying something beyond the curriculum and the kid went home and they told their fucking weirdo parents, that would cause a ruckus so fast.
That doesn't happen though, first of all, because kids are not very forthcoming with the information that they share with their parents when they get home from school. Just, we have.
Yeah, but you would
that
if you had a teacher if you had a teacher that
today at school, I don't know.
if you had a teacher that broke the narrative and told you something shocking, you would say it.
Still, there's not the teachers that are teaching all of our kids do not have the compliance police team that a fucking company has to ward off the FDA or a big organization, religious interfaith, whatever.
They absolutely do. They have all the other
don't.
snitch teachers around them. They have the vice principals, the principals.
They
There's
don't
there's a
know
lot of
if
people that they have to answer
They're
to.
skipping chapters. They don't know between each other.
Yeah, but if they were teaching beyond the curriculum, if they were going outside of the lines and teaching something that was not just beyond the curriculum, but considered a no-no, getting the kids to question the Holocaust narrative or something along those lines, they would immediately be fired. If you had a teacher, teaching you to question the Earth shape, they would be fired.
How about just skipping that chapter? Nobody would be the wiser. We skip chapters when I was in school all the time, or jump from we're gonna go this chapter to this, and then we'll come back to that chapter. And sometimes we didn't go back to that chapter.
I mean, I don't know what you're even saying.
It's not regulated as well, and these are the people responsible for teaching.
I don't know why you think that way. I think it absolutely is. I think that they're very handcuffed in what they're allowed to teach and what they're allowed to do, and their curriculums are very much coordinated for them.
But at the same time, like I said, that's not necessarily being, looked after.
I mean, I know my kids. I talk to them all the time about stuff, and I talk to them about their school, and they've never come home and said something that went against the grain that they learned from a teacher.
They've also always been in charter schools. The charter schools do not have to adhere to the strict curriculum.
Exactly, and I still haven't heard anything that goes against the standard narrative. They don't, it's just not how it works. We live in a society where we are self-policing, where we attack those who go against the narrative. And people know better. They've seen what happens to other people that question things. We've had our kids come home and tell us that the teacher has said good things about Israel, and that they've had certain religious perspectives put on them. We've never had a kid come home and talk about the teacher was talking about free Palestine, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. I wonder what Miss Nora would have said. My lady's got more education than me, and it pisses me off sometimes. Why? The only time it bugs me is when my wife just assumes she's smarter than me because it's anything. She always assumes she's smarter than me. But I know she's smarter than me in lots of cases. But most of the stuff that I'm talking about, your initial response is always going to be not to believe it because you've been specifically trained not to believe these things. When I told my wife that they had a specific police force that was the intermediary between the community and the police, and they control this, and that's why the crimes are all controlled, and they have their own. She didn't, like, she believed me, but there's still that, you know, there's just that pre-programmed, it can't be that fucking obvious bullshit. Pull your glasses out. There you go.
We understand that she's been traumatized. But for all we know, the man that we're after still has.
I have an extensive education. That doesn't mean shit. Just because you've learned to regurgitate a bunch of shit doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean you know anything. And that's part of the problem is again, we're talking about arrogance. You know, these people can't answer questions. You know, they definitely can't tell you why they believe something. And it's funny too, because it literally comes down to most of the time, well, I saw it on TV. Well, the system told me to believe it, so I believe it. But nobody wants to say that shit. Everybody wants to act like they're some sort of scientist and shit. Who pays you to say the things you do? Palestine or Israel? Yes, I am extremely well paid to say these things. To the two people. My feed that's been completely destroyed.
How do you feel about getting outside this room?
What he's on is miseducation is still education. Yep. I see what you're saying. All history teachers were pretty rigid. They have to be. As the history teacher, you know, you have a very narrow path you can walk. You can't walk into a sales job and be like, all right, I want to make 80 grand a year. Here's my resume. I was a teacher, history teacher for 10 years, and now here, put me in a position that's not only going to pay me, but keep my pension, make sure I get summers off, and all these other fucking benefits. Right? It doesn't work that way. That's the whole educational system, is to keyhole you into something so that's what you have to do. If you want to maintain the life you live, you better keep your mouth shut and do what you're supposed to do.
This just happened 2 days ago. Did we see it all over our news?
7 arrested in human trafficking operation in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Nope.
2 days ago. 2 days or 3 days.
I mean, the issue is too, again, like, for me, I'm not interested in arguing Earth shape, moon landings, all this other shit. I got drug into it a little bit, but at the end of the day, until the Goyim overthrow the friars that control the narrative, then we don't know anything. We only know what they want us to know. And us arguing about one side or the other is just what we're supposed to do. You know, what a great thing to distract the people with, the space race. And, you know, while everybody was distracted by the space bullshit, do you know what they were doing, the Israelis were doing? You know, they were just murdering and murdering and murdering and murdering. That's all they would say is good stuff about Israel all the time. They're they're gatekeepers. And their gate is kept themselves. They have their pension in place. They have their schedule. They have a house. They have a family. They have insurance. They have all of these regular life things that keep them in that position to where, what are they going to do? Get themselves blacklisted and then have to go, work at Subway or some shit? They're not going to risk that. Your average person is not going to risk the condemnation alone. I mean, look at how many people consider themselves Christian knowing that the church is the biggest pedo organization in the world. They know that shit. Everybody knows that shit. Everybody knows when you say the word pedophile, the first fucking word that comes to your head is priest.
If we don't let them do what they want,
It's just, it's common knowledge. But in order to not rock that boat, well, hey, I don't want to lose any heaven points. I don't want to have, people start digging into my past. I don't want to, whatever. People end up keeping quiet.
I really don't want to.
There's not a fucking person here that will believe, that will see the Pentagon for what it is and tell me that they believe they built that shit in 14 months from September 11th, 1941 to January of 1943. You are not that stupid. And just that understanding alone should make you then second guess everything else. You are not that stupid. That building is immense. And it's not just one building, it's multiple buildings. Bullshit. Bullshit. She did not punch through the fucking... Oh my god.
She's a badass.
It says I have 0 watchers right now. Multiple people are commenting, but I have 0 watchers. I am a refrigeration mechanic. That's the extent of my education. And what do you know about the history of it? Again, just look into the history of dry ice. And you're gonna start tripping up. It's gonna start getting weird real quick. Dry ice is created by refrigerating something under pressure to a very, very, very low temperature, below freeze, below 0, blah, blah, blah. Condensing it and freezing it down. The first observations of dry ice come from 1835. So what technology did they have in 1835 that could compress carbon dioxide while freezing it? So it could be put into a bladder and transported somewhere else to where then it left dry ice when opened up. Like the narrative is stupid. The narrative that you don't even, you're in it. This is actually a great point, right? You say, how could they keep it a secret? You're in the refrigeration business. You don't know that bullshit. And you don't know the history of it. How we were able to refrigerate things is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. I still have 0 watchers, guys. But that's how you know that that's how they keep it a secret. Just regular ignorance. You know what you're supposed to know, and that's that. If you're willing to look deeper, you'll find more, but you have to be willing to, and you know, once you find it, you have to acknowledge that you're finding something that doesn't fit. The history of dry ice, it destroys history. The history of gaslighting, not gaslighting, but you know how you'll see it throughout photographs of history where, I mean, we even have one in our front yard where the lanterns outside were gas. There were gas lines running all over the place to every single house that had a lantern in the front yard. And you look up the history of that shit, and of course, it you know, doesn't take long before you find Friars and Rothschilds, and it gets really fucking goofy. But then you look at the history of it, and according to the narrative, the Chinese were using, we're running gas lines made of bamboo to not only heat but light their houses as early as 500 BC. And it wasn't until the 1800s, late 1800s, mid 1800s, that Europe finally figured it out. They were running gas lines with bamboo. Right? And none of you have ever heard that shit. None of you have ever looked into the history of that shit. Just like none of you have ever looked into the history of dry ice. Just like none of you have ever looked into the history of submarines. Well, that's nice.
What?
The guy plays guitar on the weekends for money. A dude in the comments, apparently.
So is he one of those guys that stands on the corner playing with his guitar case open for money? Is that the kind of playing you do? Or do you actually get like booked for gigs and get paid?
Who knows? I don't care. Looney Tunes Old Metropolis. I mean, look at it. Look at the cartoons that were made in the 30s and the 20s and shit. First of all, how the fuck were they making cartoons? Cartoons seems like something that they immediately knew how to do from the time they figured out how to make movies. And when you talk about cartoons where it's animated to fit the music, like that seems like that is pretty, I don't know, like that seems pretty complicated. To be able to animate something to fit a musical score. That's really strange. Like they just knew how to do that shit. The entire history of Hollywood and the film industry itself is just another one of those rabbit holes where you just like, you find out that Hollywood in the film industry seems to go back to the 1900s here, but then it goes even further when you get back to Europe. And then it gets real murky, right? You can't really find too much. But look at the old cartoons and look at the backgrounds of the cartoons. Cartoons weren't like what they are today. They were trying to make it as real as possible while making the characters the cartoons. And especially old shit like Popeye. I mean, go look at old Popeye cartoons. Look at the backgrounds of the cartoons. I don't know how the fuck they even did that shit back then. But it's the same thing like, you know, go to any museum. We went to the museum a few years back. And I just kept saying it over and over again. Look at the backgrounds of the paintings. Look what's being depicted in the background of the paintings. We've all just become so accustomed to all those biblical paintings and Roman paintings and, ancient Europe paintings where they're showing these giant, huge fucking cities with skyscrapers and marble this and marble that and pillars everywhere and towers and, and a lot of it's supposedly still standing and shit. And we don't even bother to ask, like, what the fuck? Who was building all that shit back then? You're telling me those people walking around in fucking towels, they were also building these amazing buildings and landscapes and channels, the channel systems that exist everywhere. They were just digging channels like it was nothing. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And there's no explanation given. Well, I hate saying it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense the way that we're told history works. To me, it's like crystal clear. The only thing I don't know is when the reset actually happened. I mean, my grandma was alive in 29. My grandfather was even earlier, but, it's not like they were in Washington, D.C., and I could be like, hey, was the Pentagon there? My grandmother, when I asked her recently about her grandfather, her father and grandfather, and I asked, did you guys ever go, or did they ever go to the World's Fairs? She was like, we couldn't do that. We didn't have time for that. But at the same time, I only give her the respect I do because of who she is to me. Otherwise, she's just some lady who's regurgitating the narrative that she was told to regurgitate. That's the problem that most people can't seem to get over, is like, you have to do this to the things you like as well as the things you don't like. You make the musical score after the animation, right? No, you don't. There are plenty of cartoons that are made to go to old songs. Not every song in a cartoon was made for the cartoon. Yes, some songs were. But even still, if you're making the song to the cartoon still has to have a rhythm to it. The steps have to be in place. The movements have to be there so it can be rhythmic. But see, again, when you're just desperate to come up with arguments, you'll say goofy shit. Yes. Do you think that bamboo held up under pressure? I want to know what they used to connect the joints in the bamboo gas lines. The fact that I said that and nobody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Bamboo gas lines. Like there's clearly a world that we are disconnected from. There's clearly a narrative that we are disconnected from. You can go to any wherever any of you live. You probably can think of it in your head, but you can definitely go to the downtown near you and you'll see buildings that just don't make sense. Look up the theaters, the oldest theaters in your community. Look up you'll probably the theater in your community was probably built by the same guy that built all the theaters. 90 some buildings. I forget his name. Adolf, maybe something. There's so many different names I've come across in the past. I forget them. But just the idea that these guys were just going around building these theaters in a year. So many buildings are said to have been built in a year, maybe two. At the time when we just, that's not who we were. And the materials and it's just the logistics behind all of it just does not work. There's a really great video about where a guy is talking to John Cena ChatGPT, and he's asking the ChatGPT about Old Yankee Stadium. And it starts off by, giving the narrative that Old Yankee Stadium was built in a year, blah, 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 blah. So he starts asking the program, how is that possible? Break down how long it would take to move those all the materials, how long it would take to gather the materials, how many horses. He starts asking it all these logistical questions. And after about 6 or 7 minutes, it concludes that it's impossible for the Old Yankee Stadium, to have been built in the time frame that we're told it is. And he's asking, he's saying, so you're saying that we're being lied to. And the computer gets upset and says, and misinterprets his statement, says, I'm not lying to anyone, and then hangs up on him. It was fucking crazy. Yeah, it's called bringing forth multiple pieces of evidence, none of which seem to be able to be debated. When it comes to all the buildings in our history, especially everything that's supposed to have been built after 1860, we had cameras. We love to document shit. How come we didn't document the construction of literally any of these buildings that were founded in this year, founded in that year? Maybe it takes a year to clean the building out and renovate it. Maybe that's why it's always a year-long construction. This is before Republican greed got in the way. Republican greed. Yes, it's the Republican greed. How can you still fall for the two wings of the same bird bullshit? We can feed the poor and do just about anything else except satisfy Republican greed. I mean, the Democrats are no better than the Republicans, man. They're all just pieces of shit. They're all piece of shit actors who could play the one part. They're not good enough actors to be able to play multiple parts, but they're good enough to play the politician part. And as long as and they're willing to play that part. They're willing to vote against the people. They're willing to do these horrible things and go kiss the wall and shit like that. And when you're willing to do that, you get paid the good gig. You get the $100+ a year. You get the forever insurance, forever payments. It's all baked in, and there's a lot of incentive to be one of those, to be an actor in East Coast Hollywood.
Did you hear that Virginia Giuffre did a
memoir?
She did her testimony for 15 minutes. Virginia spoke. Her words not as a victim, but as a witness to the rot beneath the crown. So she did a video or a interview or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about her. Her narrative is a strange one, and you really don't. You don't know. To me, Epstein is a distraction. They gave us Epstein for a reason. They wanted us to be distracted by a dead guy. A dead guy. He's dead. But
She says, I wasn't a girl, I was a royal privilege.
Epstein, it's gross. Epstein wasn't famous. Epstein wasn't someone that people gave a shit about. So the only reason we actually know anything about Epstein is because they wanted us to. If they didn't want us to know about Epstein, we wouldn't know about Epstein. He was their guy. And so when it comes to everything Epstein, especially, he's not fucking dead. You know, the guy that was brought out on the stretcher that some random photographer happened to be there for, because, you know, that makes sense. But the you know, the guy that was brought out on the stretcher wasn't fucking Epstein. His nose and his ears don't match up, and that's pretty exact kind of shit.
Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment,
Epstein is 100% alive, for sure. There's a video of him, literally. Like, okay, so there just happens to be some other frail, white-haired, Jewish-looking guy who was on Epstein Island shortly after he was supposedly dead, as a drone was flying overhead. When they noticed the drone, they looked up real quick, looked back down, jumped on his ATV, sped around the island into a garage, never to be seen again. Because that's not Epstein, right? No. Like, they're not going to kill, they don't kill each other. That's why they gave us Charlie Kirk. That's why they created Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie might not be dead. I'm not real sure what we're looking at with Charlie Kirk. I know I saw a glitch in the Charlie Kirk footage where the chair glitched into the table. And so if I see a glitch, I throw the whole thing out. I don't know what I'm looking at. Right, no crime. Everything about the Kirk situation just don't make no sense outside of conspiracy. Everything. The footage, the patsy, just everything about it is fucking stupid. The government has zero case against Tyler Robinson. Other than, I guess, the fake fucking text exchange between him and his lover. You know, how many of you... Okay, so I literally looked it up the other day. How long do police keep body cam footage for? And it said... Oh, shit, you gotta go get blunts. It said the average... Do you hear me? The average time that they keep body cam footage, is 90 days. After 90 days, it gets recycled. Unless it's something like, you know, horrific. So when the body cam footage of 3 years prior, where Tyler Robinson supposedly got in a car accident and was a chill guy and all that, why would that body cam footage still exist 3 years later? That don't make no sense. They paved over the crime scene 2 days later. Like, yeah, what is that? You know, all these fake ass Charlie Kirk supporters who jumped on board the bandwagon, white people, blah blah. Like, how about the fact that immediately the narrative was that Charlie was killed for his free speech and his religious views? How come that was immediately the narrative? We didn't know anything about it. And yet immediately it was that he was killed because of his free speech and his religious point of view. It just couldn't be more manufactured. The manufactured narrative that he was turning against Israel. The manufactured narrative that he was a good guy. Charlie Kirk was a bad fucking piece of shit guy. That's why he didn't have nearly the following until after he was killed. Because he was an asshole. He said horrible, horrible things. You know, I mean, it's. This was an awful human being. And the more exposure that gets shown on his wife, on how they met and all that shit, like, it's. I don't know how you don't see it as an Israeli operation from the beginning. That guy got the beauty queen wife? Really? Who couldn't squeeze out a fucking tear? Somehow her makeup stayed fucking perfect? I played a Malphus. It's, her association with Israel, with the missing babies and the child trafficking, like, it's not even that deep. It's just below the surface, and you're already starting to be like, wait, what the fuck? But they created Charlie. They created him so they could destroy him when the time was right. And that's what they did. They don't sacrifice their own. They're not going to kill their own, especially not like that. Out and open and all that shit. And then you have a friar who is screaming out afterward, I did it, I shot him, I did it. Who also happened to have been at 9/11 and also happened to have been at the Boston bombing. And, like, what are we fucking stupid? Cash Patel saying, see you in Valhalla. And that being a place like forgot what it is, Australia, or I don't remember, but it's a retreat somewhere or some shit. What I want to know is, where was all this investigation and interest in breaking down the footage and all that for the Trump shooting? That shit just came and went. It was one of the fakest things I've ever seen. And that came and went. New Zealand, right? I mean, it's all right there. It's all, they don't even try to hide it. It's like they think it's funny to put it out there and know that there are people like us out here going, look, you guys see that? And then, the average person, I don't know, does the average person struggle with this shit on the inside? Because to me, all this shit is just as obvious as it can get. So for them to not notice or not pay attention, it has to be by choice. Trump had posters and t-shirts pre-made with the hero photos. How about the fact that the entire Christian community, like, I absolutely don't believe in any of that bullshit. But to see that, like, a day or two later, Israel puts out a CGI deep fake video of Angel Charlie Kirk talking about how, this is a time to unite, stand up for Israel, Israel's this, Israel's the best, and blah, blah, blah. That wasn't considered the most distasteful, rude, like, how Israel got away with that video. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think it's so disrespectful. Let's see. Charlie Kirk Angel video. Oh, come on. I'd have to look it up. I'd have to be signed into Facebook. This page doesn't have a Facebook. So we'll send it here, and then when she gets home, we'll watch it. That's really weird. So I just scrolled down, and it says about the source. Avi Abloh, in their own words, proud indigenous Judean friar, providing the inspiring politically incorrect truth. That's the source of this guy's video? I don't know, I'm confused. This isn't it. Where is the video? Did they take it down? Did it get removed? I'm kind of shocked. Oh, this is fucking silly.
Charlie, I love you. I love you, baby.
What?
Rest in the arms of our Lord. Faithful servant.
What?
As he blankets you with the words I know your heart always strives to hear. Well done, my good and faithful servant.
The battles are over. The trials are done.
Now he's singing. This is wow. That was on the Christian Motivational channel, but I can't find the actual. Here it is. Let's see if it'll let me.
I'm in a better place now. But America and Israel, from this day on, will never be the same.
Well, they're really making AI videos of Charlie Kirk to say that he supports Israel even after he died. It gets worse. Let me show you.
Don't go quiet. Don't bend. Don't give in. America needs you. Israel needs you.
Real people that need you are Palestinians. Guys, please give something. Be generous. We're almost at our second truck. Can you believe it?
Yeah. See, so it's like it's definitely being hidden, but you can see that it's there. Let's see, AI. I can only see it if I'm signed into Facebook. It's crazy how this has been scrubbed, or at the very least, how few people are talking about it. What an insanely disrespectful thing to do. You know? Like it's just wild. You know, the Charlie thing was exactly what it was supposed to be. A fantastic distraction and a unifier. You know, in a negative way. But you know, the thing that just isn't being said, like people are saying Israel did it, but then it's like especially when you're looking at alternative media, they'll say it and then they'll be like, we have no evidence to actually show you this, but there's this weird connection and there's that weird connection and there's the, and it's like, look again, We wouldn't know who Charlie Kirk is if they didn't want us to know who Charlie Kirk was. It's just that simple. He doesn't get elevated to the position where he was, especially with all of the Israel blowjobs, man. And the videos where he supposedly questions Israel or steps out of line, if he actually was going off script and saying something he wasn't supposed to say, Israel would have pounced on him. He would have been bad guy number one immediately, because anybody that does is immediately, thrown into the bad guy category. If anything should get your attention, it's that little piece right there. Why was Charlie supposedly speaking out against Israel and not being attacked by Israel? That's not the way it works. And that in itself should really, because imagine if they would have started attacking him and then this happened. It would have made Israel look really, really bad. But this way they can be like, no, Netanyahu was one of the first people to speak out and give his condolences, and look at all the stuff they've done and said since then. And I mean, Netanyahu only came out like 4 times. 5 times saying that Israel didn't do it. We didn't do it. We never kill anybody? The previous prime minister was assassinated by an Israeli in broad daylight, like walking away from a speech. Like, are we out of our fucking minds here? Oh, well, I'm glad you're here now. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is the reality we all need to face and just understand. And at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to be, eliminated, especially not myself. I'm not in that position. It's weird to even say the shit, and I refuse not, I'm not going to say it, but I don't want anybody to be eliminated. I want a belief structure to be eliminated. And actually, Netanyahu, yeah, you need to go. You are a horrible human being who needs to pay for your crimes. Bezalel Smotrich, Itmar Ben-Gvir, these are just horrendous people. Ben-Gvir is who is behind the assassination. Ben-Gvir and Netanyahu, but Ben-Gvir especially, were who is behind the assassination of the prime minister. A week earlier, he was on TV talking about holding the hood ornament from his Cadillac and laughing, saying, if we could get to your Cadillac, we could get to you. This is just a show. And a week later, they killed him. Violence engenders violence. I want to give them what they want. I want to give them, I want to say, look, we're going to make it illegal to be a cult member in the United States. So if you choose to remain a cult member, then we'll pay for your plane ticket and you can get the fuck out of here. You can go, we're going to pay for your ticket to Israel. We're going to send you all to Israel and you can all live happily ever after in Israel. We're going to cut off all supplies. This is, I'm running for president in 2028, by the way. And my campaigns, sort of equal platforms, my main platforms, are that we are going to make it illegal to be a pedophile and kill them, and we are going to eliminate the cult that absolutely has occupied and controls our government, and you know, and again, give them what they want. They can have Israel. What's up, Matt? Hope all is well with you, man. Crazy that Hamas just happened to end up with more missiles after a peace treaty. Yeah, Hamas has all those missiles. Anybody who thinks Hamas is anything but convenient Israel boogeymen, again, you're just saying the narrative. Okay, well, you know what I want.
Oh, no, we're not. No. I would have been gotten something.
Especially when Jesus is probably a bit darker perspective. Jesus did not exist. Jesus did not exist. That is a dumb fucking character. It's all chosen fairy tale, friar fairy tale bullshit. I mean, it's not even in question. No, unless you haven't, you must not know what your Bible says. If you think I'm wrong here, but it's literally all friar fairy tale bullshit. And look at the thing that tells you that you as a Christian is secondary and not even your Christian God's chosen people. You're not. The worshipers aren't. It's a completely different religion altogether that seemingly hates you, that is actually your Christian God's chosen favorite people. Like, what? I just can't understand why that's not the biggest red flag in the world for people. Just that in itself, just the basic, the foundational sort of aspects of the belief tell you that you are fundamentally, if you're not chosen, then what are you? The Bible is all about the special chosen people and the slaves. And it's just such a weird thing because it's like Christians get mad at me for saying these things. And it's like, are you mad at me or are you mad at you for falling for it? I'm not really sure how that works. But if what I'm saying, which is true, makes you upset, it's not me that's doing it. It's so weird, and you should not believe, identify with, make the foundation of who you are something that you don't know. You're a Christian, but you don't really know why. You don't know what it says. You don't know what they do. But you're a Christian because that means, you don't follow the rules, but you get to go to heaven when you die. When you have soldiers writing "God bless America" on bombs, like, do you not see? You don't see what's going on there? You don't see how and why you're being duped? I mean, it's like, you should be able to have a simple discussion with someone about what you believe without getting upset. And if you do get upset, you should ask yourself why. If I said to you, haha, you're 22 feet tall and you have green skin and you have 17 eyes on your forehead and you have 11 octopus arms coming out of your chest and tank wheels for legs. You're just going to kind of look at me and be like, "What's okay, dude? Whatever you say, man. You have yourself a good day, okay?" But if I come up to you and say something like, "Hey, I can tell you have impulse control problems, and I want you to live a long, healthy, happy life. So I'd like to help you learn how to eat better and control your eating so that you're not such a big fat ass." I would never even get to fat ass because you'd be automatically attacking me for body shaming you. Most people can't get over their own emotions until they learn to control them. They are not in control of themselves or lives and cannot grasp any new concepts. Yeah. It's difficult. Emotions get in the way a lot of the time. I can tell you that emotions and dysfunction get in the way most of the time. When you know you're wrong, but your dysfunction makes you argue anyway. It's very fucking strange. Easier said than done. Yeah, it is. But it helps when you delve into it and you start asking yourself like what's the reason? Why would I even get mad? One of the biggest things is allowing someone else the power over you. Allowing someone else to negatively affect you in a way that you're going to carry that energy, that negative emotion with you throughout the day or whatever. Especially if it's just some dumb stranger or it's some dumb asshole with a stupid opinion. It's fascinating to me that so many people can be obsessed with me and hate me so much and put so much energy into me when I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then it wouldn't make much sense for it to affect you the way it does. But if I'm right and you're the beneficiary of what I'm against, well, then I can understand where you're coming from. But you see this same bullshit narrative in every aspect, everything we're presented. It's the same shit. I can't tell you how many times I've questioned something and my wife's been like, I don't know about that. And then we look into it and we're both shocked by how much more right I was than I thought I was. Like the narrative is just so much more fucking ridiculous than you think. The Brooklyn Bridge narrative is so much more ridiculous than you think it's going to be. And yet still every time, because of the programming, because of the dynamic, because of the dysfunction, my wife is going to, I'm not right. The Jupiter thing, you saw it. Well, there's other variables. No, just from a simple experiment, a bigger, heavier object is going to take more force to hold in a position than a smaller one closer. Like, it's just simple. It's like simple, basic shit. I'm not talking about all the other variables and all that, just from a basic standpoint. But there's other issues at play that we all need to be able to override and figure out. Why do we think that way? If you have a reason, then let that reason be known. And for any of you you have to be willing to hear it. I'm not gonna. the one thing I run into a lot is that people will say, they'll finally say something. And then when I disagree with them, they'll be like, oh, well, you said you wanted somebody to disagree with you. It's like, I do. That doesn't mean I'm just going to agree with you for disagreeing with me. You have to be able to validate and back up whatever arguments you make. Like, that just... Why would I just be like, I want someone to disagree with me, and then you say something abstract, and I'm like, oh, well, you disagreed with me, so that must be true. We're very much programmed to be these arrogant, dysfunctional cogs in the wheel. The arrogance that it's just everywhere. My wife she likes this one, pretty sure she's a Jewish broad, but she does this like,
she's a psychologist.
Psychologist. Okay, so her one of my wife's favorite videos is her T-Rex thing. It's about how if you are in a situation where you're really upset about something and you're not getting where you need to get, put your arms up like this and start strutting around and letting out noises like a T-Rex.
It's a brain reset.
It's a brain
times of extreme anxiety and racing thoughts
and the thing is, it doesn't matter what you do. If you are to stop, if you're in a situation and you stop what you're doing and you just go laba 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 baba 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 and you just be silly for a minute. If you do something to make yourself sort of laugh at yourself, it's going to reset your brain. You don't have to do a T-Rex. You don't have to do anything like that. But my thing is, why are we trying to deal with the symptom of the problem? This is what you do when your anxiety is you're in a really bad situation. First of all, nobody's going to stop doing that, especially not my conservative wife. You'd think she wouldn't be conservative, all her tattoos and her belief structure and shit, but she is like super, super conservative. Super conservative. She's not going to do anything that's going to make her look stupid. Or, she's very concerned with that sort of, what will the neighbors think sort of perspective. And so to think that, like, especially if her and I were in some sort of disagreement, for her to stop and do a T-Rex would never, ever, 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 ever happen. If I suggested it, she'd be like, fuck you. There's just no way, if we got to the point where her anxiety was flaring and she was pissed and all that she would stop and do that. But like I say, why are we talking about what to do when you get there? Why aren't we talking about not letting yourself get there to begin with? Yeah. If your anxiety is flaring up, it's for a reason. I can't make your anxiety flare up by talking about, what it's like to hang out on the beach for the day. I can't get your anxiety to flare up by saying, oh, look out, there's a ghost right behind you. Woo! You're not going to think anything. You're going to be like, shut up, you're being stupid. Your anxiety is flaring up because whatever the person is saying is probably true, or at least true to an extent. And you don't like it, and you're not willing to deal with whatever it is. And that's the thing that needs to be said. Like, your anxiety isn't the most important thing in the world. curbing your anxiety, avoiding your anxiety, worrying about your anxiety, it should never be on anybody else's mind. I shouldn't have to curb what I say or what I think because it might upset you. Who cares if it upsets you? You care if it upsets you, but that doesn't
Compassion.
that doesn't take away my right to say it. And what are you upset about? Like, it's one thing if I'm talking about you're a fat dumb piece of shit, I hate you, you're smelly. That I can see that. But for you to get upset about, you know, I don't know, whatever, cleaning something or going someplace or, you know, a disagreement of some sort. For that to work your anxiety into a flush, that's ridiculous. And I should be able to say whatever I'm thinking and feeling. If I'm not attacking you, then you shouldn't, like, I shouldn't have to worry that you're not mature enough to handle what's being said to you. You know, oh, well, I don't want to face the facts that I need to, you know, stop making excuses and help my dad get, you know, fix the house and clean, you know. That's bullshit. And it's always interesting how, you know, anxiety only rears its head when somebody's trying to hold you responsible for something. You know, hey, can we do this thing? Can we work on this thing? Can this thing that you did bothered me or whatever? You're not anxiety ridden when we're talking about what do you want to do for dinner or something like that. The anxiety, the inability to be a normal person only flares up when you're being challenged. And so instead of going T-Rex when your anxiety gets all crazy, why don't we stop the crazy from happening? Why don't you stop getting upset when people say things you don't like? Why don't we figure out what it is you don't like about that statement? We have to be able to fix these things. How do you go out and, you know why boxers, when they're you know, they have a huge fight coming up, a championship fight coming up, what do? They isolate themselves for 8-10 weeks, right? They surround themselves with boxers, with their team. They get their nutritionist, they get their, you know, their dietitian, whatever. They get their masseuses, they get their trainers, they get their whole crew, and they go up into the mountains somewhere where there's no TV, there's no phones, there's nothing. And that fighter is completely isolated and completely focused on the fight at hand because he's going into a ridiculous, dangerous situation against an extremely skilled opponent who's doing the same thing. If he's smart, who's only going to be focused on the fight at hand. That's why so many fighters hate when they have media obligations before the fight, because they're trying to stay in the fight camp. And the last thing they do is be around their family, is especially be around their wife, who is going to pick unnecessary fights, who is going to make mountains out of molehills, who little bitty things will be cause the distraction. Because we don't live in that society where we can disagree with each other, where we can compromise with each other, where, you know, we can be wrong for the other person. So then things blow up into these huge distraction fights. And if we as a society is going into the ultimate championship fight where we're going against the narrative that's kept us these dumb slaves for this long period of time, we can't be distracted by bullshit at home. We can't be distracted about simple fights about, you know, whatever it may be. whatever it may be. We have to be this unified force that is trying to be better on all fronts, whether it's who we are as people at home, who we are in the fight, whatever it may be. But we have to... My lunch break just posted a video, 1904 World's Fair lie. I'm going to go check that shit out. Because I'm sure that's a really great video. I just wish I could get, I wish I could talk to that dude. We could have it back and forth. The only reason you can't talk to Christians is because they know their bullshit is fake. That's why they get so upset as soon as you start talking about their shit. You would think they would be like, oh, great, I have this opportunity to
I don't think that they necessarily know it's fake. I think they just know they can't prove anything. And you have to have faith. That's the only way, because there is no proof.
Sure. But the problem is, well, lack of evidence is evidence against. No doubt about it. But there's also lots of evidence against. So you have to...
You throw faith and it fixes all of that.
Right, but you can have faith in anything. And that's when So how do you control that? How does that work? If you have the faith, then how do you know that faith in the Jesus is the real faith instead of faith in the Muhammad and the Allah? Right, but the Quran does the same thing. So how do you know which one is the right one? And as I've recently sort of thought about, how is it you know that God isn't pissed off at all of the bullshit that's done in its name and is pissed at the Bible, pissed at Judaism, pissed at Islam, pissed at all that shit for the way we treat each other and the way it's... And God hasn't decided that I'm the vessel that it wants to use to say all the right things. How can you prove that's not the case?
Because then you would be allowed to have the platform to do so.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Is the trials and tribulations narrative and all that other bullshit. But the thing that God's against is the thing that holds me back. How do you know that's not the case? You don't know. God's not very powerful.
According to the Christians, yes.
Yeah, but not in any meaningful way.
Well, meaningful to you.
No, in any meaningful way. The only time God seems to ever step up is when, it's easily explained by people doing it themselves. I stopped drinking because of God. No, you didn't. God watched you drink the whole time. I'm sure there were plenty of times before this last one that you prayed for help from God and it didn't work. No, you quit drinking. No, you did. You did. There wasn't a difference between this time and the last time. The only difference was your belief in yourself.
They'll find something.
Mm-hmm.
They always do.
Right, but that's just it. That's when desperation comes in. And we have to go back to the... Why are you this determined to be this way? What is the benefit to you? I mean, you're not going to heaven. You broke enough rules. You had sex before you were married, right? Yeah. So you're not going to heaven. You had sex for other than procreation purposes, right? Yeah, you're not going to heaven. Hey, how many tattoos do you have? No more heaven for you. There's so many different reasons why you're not going to heaven. There's so many things that you don't even realize you did that you need to repent for, that you didn't repent for, and well, you're going to go to hell. And why make a book full of rules that you don't have to follow?
Well, I think that people look at it those rules were meant for different times. And, the church has to adapt with society.
Well, they believe that to an extent. And that's, again, when the arrogance comes in. So how do you know which things are meant to be old school things and which things are meant to be new school. And how do you know which things are meant to be taken literally and which things are meant to be taken?
With the priest and the pastor and the rabbi and the priest.
Okay, so why? So then again, why would you have faith in that person? Why do you believe?
God chose them to be their mouthpiece.
No, they did it. They went to the school. There was no divinity involved.
That's not true.
You can't prove that.
People that are clergy say it all the time. I was touched by God, and God told me.
Yeah, well, I mean that's and people in the Bible.
It wasn't their calling.
People in the Bible say they built the God phone, and then God was like, "Hey, this is all my land." How? Okay, so if I were to say the same thing, how could you prove that it wasn't true? If I said, "Okay, well, I can tell you guys this. Last night, I woke up, I looked at the foot of my bed, blazing Jesus sitting there, and he was like, "Guy, all of this shit is yours. Everybody needs to give you their money, just like in biblical times." How can you say that didn't happen?
I mean, you can't.
Right.
But is it believable?
Why isn't it believable? It used to happen all the time in the Bible.
Supposedly. It typically happened to those that, supposedly lived very saintly lives. Or if it didn't.
No, it didn't.
Go through somebody that wasn't as saintly, it would be life-changing, and then they would become saintly after the fact.
No, you're just saying stuff right now to try to, make it make sense. That's not what the stories tell you. That's not what the stories tell you. The stories are very, very bland and very, very, left up to interpretation. But they don't talk about how the person was then this great person who only helped people and all that. It's usually not what happened. Usually they're they're having kids at 90 and the thing is too, people will say that they age differently, but they didn't age differently because the 90-year-old people say, "Well, how can I have a child? I'm so old." So they're still 90 years old people, and then they live another 900 years and shit. That has to be brutal. That has to be brutal.
Imagine the aches and pains you wake up with at 846 years old.
Right. But, I mean, again, how do you know that the very Jewish narrative that is only Jewish fairy tales, because the Bible's not Christian, it's that other piece of the puzzle that's so strange to me that, what?
Believing in Christ is being a Christian. Believing that Christ is God's Son and our Savior is
the Jewish kid, right?
Christian.
Yeah, the Jewish kid.
Well, yeah, the Jews didn't believe that he's the Messiah.
Right, no, I know.
They believed he existed, but not as, the same.
The virgin birth. But then again, and you can't have Judaism without having Exodus. And Exodus is easily top 3 dumbest fucking stories in the whole thing. It's one of the few Bible stories. No, it's one of the few Bible stories that all of the historians and everyone everywhere go, "Yeah, well, that didn't happen."
Well, you need to ask a priest. Ask the expert.
Yeah, but this is where we go. Okay, so 2 million people walked around the desert for 40 years.
It's God's miracle. God provided.
God provided manna, which is sort of like a tarry, nasty substance that had to be farmed every morning because it showed up with the dew.
Lots of people do that.
Yeah. And it would go bad at the end of every day except for the day before the Sabbath because they weren't allowed to work on the Sabbath. So that manna would last 2 days.
God would allow it.
So that's all they ate and drank for 40 years wandering around the desert. And then Moses goes up the hill, and he's up there for 40 days, weirdly enough. And within that 40 days, while Moses is putting the tablets together, they discard all of their views, their beliefs, and start worshiping a giant golden calf. Then Moses then comes down and he's like, dude, I was gone for 40 days.
Yeah, well, a cow wandered by.
Golden
it looked
calf.
really yummy. We killed it and ate it. It was delicious, and now we're worshiping them.
I mean, it's just weird. It's such a... You are not dumb enough to believe that that's what really happened.
If you can let yourself believe that God created miracles, then you could chalk that up as a miracle, and it makes perfect sense.
I mean, I guess, and then so what you then believe is that same God that was, constantly providing miracles for the chosen people, which you don't happen to be one of. Here we are 2,000 years later, and that God's like, hands off.
No, he provided the miracle to Mary. She wasn't a Jew.
So then how was he? I wish you guys could have seen her face right there.
Mary and Joseph were
I believe God is here with us, and he would never do something to somebody he want to do himself.
They justify the bad shit as,
The devil. What was that?
Well,
What was that?
or
What was that?
or
What was
putting
that?
soul through that tribulation to learn the valuable lesson that it came back here to learn.
Sure.
Your soul needs a certain amount of suffering to learn different things.
Right, and then this is where we get into okay, so what is it? And
that's not for us to determine. That's God's work.
Yeah. So that's then reincarnation?
I mean, it is.
It's just stupid. And the thing is, your soul doesn't actually, people think like the Charlie Kirk angel. You don't turn into an angel.
No.
Angels are angels. They've been here the whole time. They're just as old as God. There's no new angels. You just... it's like Dragon Ball Z, where you just become a little cloud thing. And you stand in line and shit. It's all really stupid. I mean, come on, guys. I think most of you, and we talked about this before, the vast majority of you that identify as a Christian, you don't know what it says because you can't. As soon as you start reading into it, your 2025 brain goes, this is dumb. This is impossible. And so you go, you know what? I'm just going to believe it instead. I'm not going to know it because knowing it is hard to then associate it. But
it's just so cryptic and stupid and incomplete sentences and improper grammar, and it's just it's like uneducated person on ADHD, severe ADHD and schizophrenia combined wrote it.
It's like somebody with a purpose, with a purpose to control in mind, with a goal,
make you feel stupid,
right? With a goal to confuse and control and be, and teach you to be subservient to authority, because if you can accept that the intangible authority is true even when it doesn't make any sense, then when you grow up and the tangible government authority tells you shit that doesn't make sense, but you still have to believe it anyway, you're already programmed to do so. And then when they're like, hey, we're gonna take so much of your tax dollars and give them to this first world country over here so they can commit genocide, you're gonna go, oh well, anybody else, I'd be pretty upset about it. But those are God's chosen people, and that's basically how it worked back then. So it's how it works now.
Religion is so huge and pushed in prisons. It doesn't matter what denomination, as long as you belong to a religious organization, it's huge, and it's just to control the inmates.
Make them feel better. Make them feel better. They can get this strange forgiveness that they feel a guilt over their crime or whatever, so they get their forgiveness from Jesus, and it just makes people, it makes you stupid. You have to be, if they get you believing stupid things, that makes you stupid. And you might not want to be stupid, but what you end up believing in is just, it's so stupid that when the characters' names are changed and the locations are a little bit different, and a different group of people believe that narrative, you say it's stupid. Those fucking Muslims, they don't know what they're talking about. That's stupid. Those, there are thousands of religions in history that have had the same sort of miracle birth and persecution and 3-day resurrections, and there are so many stories that predate the Bible that have those kind of narratives. And you think all of those other ones are stupid because it's a stupid story. But somehow you've been tricked into believing one that, what else is weird is like, how many things can you say that you learned when you were, before you can remember, that you still think the exact same way about? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, something.
Like what?
But, I mean,
like, a light switch works and shit. Yeah. But
oh, I thought you meant like principles.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like you,
I feel different about abortion now than I did.
You didn't know about abortion when you learned about religion. When the people that you trust more than anything are doing goofy symbols over your head and pushing that nonsense into your head.
Well, I just remember thinking it was stupid, like it was invading your space, and it just felt yuck. That's all I remember. It felt yuck anytime any of that happened.
But that's what I mean. Like you. There aren't very many things like back then. You're scared of the dark, and back then you're like, breath sprouts, or just dumb kid shit. You would watch, kid programs, and you would go on rides, and and not even good rides. Like you would go on the shitty rides at the fair where it's, and you had like, you don't think about anything that you've grown up in every other aspect of your life. But when it comes to religion, you still believe the same childish nonsense that, like, you almost need to be childish to believe it, because otherwise an adult brain's not going to make any sense of it.
When you're traumatized, that part of your brain keeps you at that age.
Yeah.
So most people were traumatized by religion.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great fucking point.
And so
that at a young age you were taught the concept of hell, like your fucking feeble little mind could understand hell. If you don't follow this impossible set of rules, you're going to burn in hell for all of eternity.
So when it comes to religion, I think that
Wow, that's
it
fucking
goes back
huge.
to that trauma age when that occurred. And for
Wow.
some people it's 6.
That's
Some
that
people
sexy
it's
brain.
12. You know, some people it's 3. I think
Most people,
that
it's way
it
younger.
varies.
Yeah, you don't even
you
remember
know.
when that trauma first was put on you.
That's the shit Steph was crying over yesterday. You know, when she was 2, she didn't have a memory of that happening to her, but you know. So every time she thinks about being pretty, her brain goes back to that trauma age.
That's, that's such a big, huge thing that you just fucking turned over there. That's really awesome. That trauma from wait, you mean there's a bad guy? Wait, wait. God is
God
going
allows that?
right, God's
God
gonna
loves all of
send
us.
me
He's gonna let me burn in hell.
to go down if I don't follow these rules. But mom and dad, you don't follow the rules.
So then it makes you worry about all your family members
Right.
going to hell.
I know my oldest
I
has
had people
had a
apologizing to me when my dad killed himself when I was 19. I had elder family members apologizing because to them that meant he was going to hell because he took his own life. And they were praying for his soul. Like that was traumatizing.
well, no,
hearing
they
that
probably
publicly.
were old school and still believed in purgatory, even though it had been
And
officially.
the Greeks didn't.
Well,
That's a Catholic thing.
well, but my oldest has had a difficult relationship with death his whole life. The whole well, if it's
Here now,
why
it
do we
shouldn't
all
go away.
right? Why do we have to die? Like what's that? Why is it that way? He doesn't. The futility of life when you realize it's all just gonna end anyway. You know, my little 3-year-old is suffering with that concept and telling him, well, you can either go to this really great place or you can go to this really really awful place where you're more than likely gonna go. Like that's got to be fucked up. Along with telling the kids that their favorite dinosaurs, their big dinosaur toys that are these big giant lizard monsters that are way tougher than humans are, that everything was destroyed when a rock fell from the sky. That's got to be pretty fucked up for little kids. I don't think we as adults think about it because we've become so accustomed to the trauma,
Yeah.
which is why you can probably understand that, like,
The amount of mental issues that this world has.
well, when you look at the bottom of darkness thing, people often ask, how can you have a group of people that are openly committing genocide, and then you've seen the videos of them, bus dropping the people off and them running out to go claim Palestinian houses and shit like that. Like, how can you be that way? But if you say, well, from 5 to, 15, 5 to 14, they were viciously raped and assaulted, being told they were chosen and used for transcendence purposes and redemption purposes, and then when they were 15, 16, 17, they were made to do it to other little kids to complete the cycle. Well, maybe that's why those people are so heartless and compassionless and can just go rape the Palestinians like that. Maybe that's why we have such an insane, because the majority of us look at that situation and just go, how can you do this? Like, it's just awful what you're doing. You're horrible human beings. And yet there's that video of that fat guy telling those Palestinians, well, if I don't steal your house, somebody else will. To have that mindset that it's just okay for you to be this way. You had to be broken somehow. And the bottom of darkness aspect of things, the ritualistic sexual abuse that is everywhere in Israel, and probably a lot more commonplace in the United States than you realize. Like, my wife says things like, I never heard about Matitza Pape. Her previous husband was Jewish by his mother's marriage and his conversion, so he wasn't like official at all, and was treated as such. But we
went to all the functions.
They went to the functions, they did the things, but they were never exposed to the Matitza Pape. And they were, you never
heard the term.
You never heard about the secure community network.
No.
And you never heard about the Havara agreement. And you never heard, like, these are all things that are spoken about purposefully behind closed doors. And just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it's true. But it's a lot more commonplace than you think it is.
Lots of family Passover dinners and family.
Never went to one bris.
But never. I mean.
Wasn't even invited to a bris.
His older brother married a Christian woman. I think she was very wealthy family with Presbyterian doctors. So I don't think he had a boy and a girl. I think he was raising them Christian. We didn't have much communication with his brother.
Of course not.
Well, we were riffraff, Anyhow,
he married a dirty Greek.
And his sister was 10 when he and I met, so she didn't have any kids. So there weren't really any childbearing people in the family that were having voice for that opportunity to even come up.
Yeah, but you weren't in part of the community either.
Right. We didn't.
Right. So
I don't know, like, if his mom had ever heard of it. She went to all the JCC events and, on behalf of the golf and tennis company that they owned. And, like, she had all those connections because of, her husband and his status. But I don't know what she knew and what she didn't.
But what you do know about her is that if she did know, she wouldn't say or do anything about it.
Now, I would be interested in finding out.
She would keep her mouth shut as she's supposed to.
Well, he died a few years back. So, I'm pretty sure she's not in the same house. I don't know, though. I don't know if she's still accepted in the community, if she still attends anything. I'm pretty sure he had sold the store shortly before he died. So she doesn't have that connection anymore. So I don't know if she's now a practicing Christian because of her mom or what.
I'm sure her mom is long dead.
Oh yeah, no, Flora died years ago too. But so the only people that would be alive on his side, he had one sister, and she didn't have any kids.
Yeah, but she was indoctrinated completely.
Well, his sister was
right.
Born Orthodox.
Right. So yeah, she's still
a Jew.
Yeah, so she's still a part of it.
Yeah, that's the.
No, I mean
Freddie
if her daughter is still, then she is too.
But my point is, like, the only child that David had is Greg's sister.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's married and has kids.
Well, who cares?
But my point is, it'd be interesting to know if his mother, the one that chose the Orthodox Jew and converted her.
Yeah, she still is. I'm sure she still is.
Still is.
Yeah.
If
Her daughter is, then she still is. Yeah. Her daughter is. I'm sure her daughter has kids, and her daughter's kids.
I don't know if Emily. She might have ended up being gay. I don't know. I always thought that she was a lesbian, but I don't know.
Wouldn't matter. She would still follow the rules.
She was bat mitzvah. Yeah. I remember going to the bat mitzvah.
Yeah, well, you're giving money at the bat mitzvah. Of course you're welcome.
The girls don't get as much as the boys do.
Of course not. Interestingly enough, that's obvious enough.
Cost more because
elaborate dresses
so
and whatnot.
Elaborate,
right.
Yeah.
Strange how that sort of weird custom exists in so many different communities. Where it's part of the
attire than they do on the overall aesthetics of things. Where you're having it, what kind of food,
Right. You got to show
the name
off.
of the DJ. You know,
Yeah.
if you're high end, like the gift bags for the kids, swag bags they get to leave with. It's crazy.
It's all stupid. It's all just so stupid.
When DJ AM DJ'd the one of the bar mitzvahs that Forte hosted, was chosen. All all of the attendees, all the kids, got a signed DJ AM T-shirt that they didn't know he was gonna be dead like 2 years later, and that would be, you know, more valuable. But the parents paid for not only him to be the DJ, but to provide hand signed a T-shirt, everybody's T-shirt.
I mean, was he one of them? I'm sure he was one of them. So I'm sure, like, there's so much more that the SCN raises $2 billion annually to be dispersed amongst the people.
$1 billion.
That's just one.
That's not including Holocaust money.
Well, no, that's what I was going to get into before I went way off in this direction. But that's just one. There's the JFN. You know, there's all these other networks that I wanted to look into. But that's just one organization raising $2 billion for them. The amount of money that so when you think about like the dispersal, well, how is it dispersed? It has to be dispersed somehow. We just don't know about it. When it comes to the network in which they communicate on.
Hold on. That dispersal is a very vague term. So when they say it's dispersed back to the public, that could simply mean it is given to Israel's government to be used for roads and used for this. That can be construed as dispersed.
Could be. But there's also the checks they get. They all get that shit.
Right.
But this also, remember when Kelly said about the dentist's office and how the friar patients would come in and they wouldn't have to pay for it. The friar dentist would instead send the bill to some 3-letter organization at 70% the cost that it normally would be. They would pay it. The person would get the free dentistry, the dentist would get paid, and that was it. Again, that's the dispersal. That's more methods of that. But $2 billion is annually.
I would love to see uncooked books, especially like, of the comparison of the different countries, and to see how all of those numbers actually play out. I mean, I know it's all like manufactured, but at the same time, like there's got to be some sort of record keeping, you know.
Yeah, maybe on the high levels there's just a different. It's the same thing. It's just different.
The public would ever see, of
Right.
course. Those are cooked versions, but it would
Who
be
knows?
very interesting to see what those numbers look like. Just
But
being
this
the
is. There are so many 3-letter organizations that are raising hundreds of millions, billions of dollars that are then dispersed throughout the community that makes up 0.183% of the world's population. Maybe 2%, maybe 3% of the United States population, but more likely 2%.
would be an even more interesting thing to see would be the percentage of those people that give back to charities versus the percentage of the rest of the world that gives to charities.
Well, I
bet that would just be.
No, I would. Well, because so what happens with
other than just Jewish charities.
Well, what happens with charities? See, you just made a huge distinction there. What happens with charities, like with the reason so many of them create foundations and shit like that, is because when you funnel your money through the foundation, it then no longer gets tracked. So now it's your foundation. You have access to all the funding, all the money, but there's no monitoring of it. So it's all still your money. It's just moving it from a monitored position to an unmonitored position. So that's why so many of them come up with their own random foundations and shit, because they just funnel their money into it, and then they use it how they want to. But so much of these foundations and shit like that, they're fed through taxpayer dollars. They're fed through grants and shit like that. Like, and as far as giving to the charities, well, they cycle it. You give me $30,000 for my kid's bar mitzvah, I'll give your kid $30,000. It's just that they cycle it through them each other.
Tomorrow is Pink Out Day at our one son's school, and they want him to wear a pink shirt and bring a $5 donation for breast cancer research. And right, okay, but as I remember being a kid like that.
Oh, it's huge.
That's huge. So I had to be careful how I reacted, because I don't want to squash that in him. And it's a great thing to have that feeling, that sense of contribution to something that you believe in or has touched your life. But you got to walk that fine line between cynicism and support.
Like I say, I'd rather them learn it all and then have to unlearn it, so then they can at least argue both sides. Because that's where one of my strengths is that I know both sides.
Right. Oh, and I felt both sides tugging at each other inside as he was telling me. And I think the only thing that I did say was supporting those causes is absolutely imperative. That's how they're able to continue to do their research. You just have to make sure that you do your research, that you're giving it to people that actually make sure the money gets where it's supposed to go. You don't just blindly give to people that say, oh, this money's going to breast cancer. Because, you don't know.
You don't.
So I did try to have him learn that lesson while not saying, it's all a scam, it's all a bunch of manufactured fucking free power bullshit. Had to totally refrain.
It's hard to do that, especially with the more you learn and the more you delve into things, and you start to realize it's just all manufactured bullshit.
Yes, they killed your grandmother. I don't want him going there just yet. He'll get there.
Anyway, the description has all the links in it. Go check out the description. I appreciate it. I would have been done a long time ago if she hadn't started piping up. I appreciate her being here. So, what a revelation. The idea of the trauma associated with hell keeping your brain stuck in that childish mentality. That just makes so much sense.
Well, every time you talk to, even whenever she's brought up Jesus, you get this child energy you feel come through. Even when the dude that bought the cement hole or whatever, and every time he'd start talking about Jesus and God, and he just became this kid.
Something to it. Anyway, go check out all this stuff. Go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. It's free, 0 in the payment box, and it's free, or you can donate. Appreciate it. If you do, go check out the Israel Hayom article, Bottom of Darkness. It's going to be difficult because the website will keep kicking you off. Like how articles always do. They make it difficult for you to read them. But it's worth the read. It's the most important article ever written. Hollywoodism is the most important film ever made. Go watch it. It will explain all of this. And the thing about all of my receipts is it's from their perspective. It's not my perspective. It's not some conspiracy guy's perspective. It's what they want you to know. Everything I talk about comes from them. It's not Alex Jones or some bullshit. So, have yourself a great day. And most importantly, you pedophiles, kill yourself.